Chapter 388. Who is Park Jin-tae? He is the #1 TKM doctor in South Korea, and no one can beat him in South Korea. Even in Japan, not many TKM doctors are better than him. In 1995, there was a plague outbreak in South Korea. Many Western experts rushed to South Korea to investigate, but they could not find a vaccine after more than a year. In the end, Park Jin-tae led his team to explore South Korea and found ancient prescriptions to save tens of thousands of people. He was hailed as the Korean medical sage by the South Korean government. Due to the 2001 tsunami, there were countless deaths and injuries, and the plague was rampant. Park Jin-tae led the people from TKM to the disaster area, and it only took them 3 days to come up with a method to deal with the virus. In 2005, there was a SARS outbreak in America. It was highly contagious, and thousands of people were infected in a week. The World Health Organization sent medical experts over, but they could not do anything. Park Jin-tae, who was far away in South Korea, did not go to the scene. He wrote a prescription, and the disease was cured in America. From then on, Park Jin-tae's name spread across America, and Korean medical centers flourished. In South Korea and America, everyone knows about Park Jin-tae's deeds. His influence is far greater than Jeong Chang-gung and Jang Yang-hao. But this nameless brat in front of him actually dared to challenge Park Jin-tae and even placed such a huge bet. Medicine King Group, the #1 TCM company in Hwaseong. Its market value is more than 100 billion Hwaseong yuan. That's more than $10 billion US. DU Pharmaceuticals is not bad either. It has 300 billion won, which is more than 200 billion Hwaseong yuan. Moreover, it also involves who is the source of TKM and TCM, and who is the authentic one. A world-shaking gamble, a world-shaking gamble. In an instant, everyone was shocked, and they whispered to each other. If this duel is successful, it will have a huge impact, and the stakes involved are too scary. This is too shocking. The competition between TCM and TKM has been going on for many years. Finally, it's time to decide who is better. Why does he dare to accept the challenge? Park Jin-tae's face became serious as he looked suspiciously at Jang Tae-yeon. He wondered what kind of trump card this kid had. Grandpa, aren't you being too impulsive? This involves the shares of our DU pharmaceutical company. That's the hard work of 3 generations of our family. Park Yunjing's face was deathly pale. In the end, Park Jin-tae had boundless confidence in his medical skills. Under everyone's gaze, he finally took a deep breath and said, "Okay, I agree to this bet." At this moment, Mo Junrong had already hung up the phone. He walked over with a complicated expression. The higher-ups said that we're an independent academic institution, and they don't support or oppose this bet. However, it reminds us that we must be cautious. If we are not 100% confident, we must not accept the challenge. His footsteps were extremely heavy, and his voice and hands were trembling slightly. He knew that if he won this battle, he would be a great contributor and would be promoted to deputy minister when he returned. If he lost, he would be the sinner of Hwaseong's traditional Chinese medicine industry and would forever be nailed to the pillar of shame in history. He grabbed Jang Tae-yeon's hand and said, "Divine Dr. Jiang, we must not lose this time. President Mo, don't worry. Master Kang's medical skills are not something they can imagine. These South Koreans will lose miserably this time." Jang Yang-hao is very confident in Jang Tae-yeon. Park Jin-tae's medical skills might be on par with his and Jeong Chang-gung's, but compared to Jang Tae-yeon's ability to bring people back from the brink of death, it was simply trash. This is only the prelude to the conference. After that, everyone took their seats and started the conference. First, a leader from the World Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization started the conference by talking about the origins of medicine and the purpose of the medical field. Just these topics alone took almost 40 minutes. After that, the leader announced the organizing committee for this conference and introduced the contributions made by the medical field last year, as well as the progress of the world's health industry. After the leader finished his speech, it's time for the representatives from the various countries to present their reports. Half a day passed. The organizing committee organized a sumptuous lunch, and during lunch, Mo Jinrong's phone kept ringing with calls from important figures. Some of them are leaders from the health department, some of them are experts in the medical field, and even his family and friends. Many people are paying close attention to this conference. Sigh. The debate between Divine Dr. Jiang and Park Jingtai in the morning has spread to the entire world and Huaxia. Mo Jinrong hung up the phone and did not answer anyone's call. If Divine Dr. Jiang loses, I will jump down from the top of the exhibition center and never return to China. In response, Jiang Tian smiled and said, Guild leader Mo, you should prepare the money for the meal. After the simple lunch, the conference is supposed to announce TKM's successful application in the afternoon. Park Jingtai will introduce TKM's history and recent developments, and the World Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization will award relevant certificates. But after Jiang Tian's intervention, the conference's agenda was changed. Charles from the Intangible Cultural Heritage Protection Subcommittee went up to the stage to speak. The gist of it was that a new virus was discovered by the seaside in Cuba, and everyone in a fishing village died from it. Furthermore, it's highly contagious. It can spread through droplets, blood, and body fluids, and it's still spreading. After research, the experts from the Washington Medical College came up with several treatment plans, but they all failed. This new virus can't be killed. However, they found the source of the virus. It's a virus carried by a type of fish in the ocean. The fishermen in the village were infected with the virus after eating the fish. Based on the current situation, if they don't come up with an effective treatment plan, this virus will spread to the entire world in 3 months. Furthermore, the mortality rate is a terrifying 98%. Then, Charles said, when a global and catastrophic disease spreads, it's time for us medical workers to show our skills. The relevant information has already been sent to everyone, and I hope that all the experts can work together to come up with a solution. These information are all in English. Other countries have translated versions, but we're the only ones in English. They're simply bullying us. Zhang Yanghao opened the information and complained bitterly. Pu Zhengtai and the rest are really making things difficult for us. At this moment, Charles explained with a smile, because Huaxia's TCM came too suddenly, we didn't prepare the relevant information. Furthermore, I heard that Huaxia and TKM rely on looking, listening, questioning, and feeling the pulse to observe the patients. I believe that you guys can do it without looking at the information. They've already brought the patients? Someone asked in astonishment. Sure enough, a total of 8 patients infected with the new virus were pushed up. The patient was on his last breath and was in a deep coma. His consciousness was fuzzy, and it felt like he would die at any moment. The most terrifying thing was that his body was already festering with dense pustules. Some of them had already festered, and yellowish red pus flowed out. It was a hair-raising sight. Because the virus was highly contagious, the patient was placed in a glass cabin. It had a built-in oxygen input and various vital signs monitoring system that looked very advanced. Let's go. Let's go up and take a look. Many medical workers rubbed their palms and went up to observe. It was said that heroes were born in troubled times, and it was the same for medical workers. This was really the time for them to make a name for themselves. The patient's heartbeat is very weak. I'm afraid that he won't be able to withstand the antiviral drugs. A professor in the field of infectious diseases said with a grave expression. We've already used the usual antiviral drugs, and it's twice the usual dosage. Someone looked at the patient's case and was at a loss. At this moment, Pu Zhengtai took a look and straightened his back. He stood with his hands behind his back and said, I can treat this disease. Yunjing, bring the medicine. Pu Yunjing immediately walked in with a bowl of medicinal concoction. The medicinal concoction looked yellow and exuded a rich medicinal fragrance. It was obvious that it was brewed with expensive medicinal herbs. He didn't even need to brew the medicine. He clearly knew about the relevant information in advance. This is cheating, Zhang Yanghao said angrily. The medicine isn't steaming. It's already cold. It's clearly prepared in advance. This is too unfair. We protest. Many doctors were so angry that their eyes turned red. At that moment, they realized that the person in charge of the Intangible Cultural Heritage Group, Charles, was in cahoots with Pu Zhengtai's family. Pu Zhengtai also smiled and said faintly, I never knew that there would be such a patient coming out. However, this medicine of mine can kill many kinds of viruses. The other party came prepared. How are we supposed to compete? This matter is uncertain. For a moment, many doctors felt uneasy and worried for Jiang Tian. Mr. Jiang, if you're so capable, choose a patient to treat. This time, I'll make you accept your defeat wholeheartedly. Pu Yunjing chose a patient, opened the glass capsule, and fed the patient the medicine. She waited quietly for any changes. Pu Zhengtai looked at Jiang Tian and said coldly, Mr. Jiang, this is our bet today. If I can cure him, it's my win. If you can cure him, it's your win. Sure. Jiang Tian's expression was calm, but he had no intention of treating the patient. Why aren't the doctors of Huaxia doing anything? The patient's condition is so serious that even Western medicine can't do anything. What can they do? But Pu Zhengtai has a way. He can definitely cure the patient. This time, Chinese medicine is bound to lose. They can only become a vassal of TKM. Yeah, they can't even keep the name left behind by their ancestors. How pitiful. Soon, half an hour had passed. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian and the others and started to talk and mock them. Yeah, didn't Miracle Dr. Jiang say that he has a way? Why isn't he treating the patient? Seeing that Jiang Tian was not treating the patient, a few young doctors in the Chinese medicine team started to talk anxiously. One of them was a young female professor from Huaxia Chinese Medicine Academy called Yang Rongyan. She crossed her arms and said disdainfully, Sai, do you really think that he has any medical skills? I've never heard of it. He's only good at talking. I heard that he was once a visiting professor in Jinling Pharmaceutical University. The Fersky Laboratory of the Medicine King Corporation was established by him. Someone still had some confidence in Jiang Tian and said, Professor Huang Zhihui of the Fersky Laboratory won the Nobel Prize in Medicine. The laboratory's research ability can even surpass your university. Yang Rongyan smiled in disdain. Don't you know how corrupt the universities are? The Medicine King Corporation is so rich. Isn't it easy for Jiang Tian to gain some fame? This is a halo created for the rich second generation to take over the company. Only with a reputation can people be convinced in the future. Chapter 389. If he's capable, he would have done it long ago. Why would he wait until now? It's a pity that he's putting the fate of Chinese medicine on the line just to please the crowd. He's too selfish. Hearing her words, many people became anxious. Divine Dr. Jiang can't treat him. What should we do? We're in trouble. Unknowingly, an hour had passed. Zhang Yanghao looked at Park Zhengtai and said, Mr. Park, you've been using the medicine for so long. Why isn't there any effect? You don't even know that. TKM is different from Western medicine. We need time to treat the symptoms and root cause. We need to wait at least 3 hours for there to be an obvious effect. Park Zhengtai said mockingly. But at that moment, the patient's body suddenly spasmed. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, all the vital signs monitoring the patient's vitals beeped and the red light flashed. His heartbeat is weakening. Respiratory failure. His body temperature is dropping. His heartbeat has stopped and he's in shock. Should we resuscitate him with electric shock? Everyone exclaimed. Park Zhengtai was sweating profusely. He panicked and pulled Park Yunjing aside. He whispered anxiously, What's going on? Didn't the experiment say that it's effective? Park Yunjing frowned and said, "This virus will mutate on its own. Usually, it will mutate once every 3 days. It seems that the virus and its characteristics have mutated, so the medicine we prepared in advance is ineffective. The patient's breathing and heart have stopped. He's dead." Someone lamented. "This virus is too strange. Western medicine has been defeated. I didn't expect TKM to fail as well. Are we just going to let this virus spread freely? Isn't this the end of the world?" Just when everyone was in despair, an indifferent voice suddenly echoed in the hall. "Is he dead? He's just faking his death. A bunch of ignorant and fearless quacks. They're no less than the white-clothed butcher." That sentence was like throwing a tantrum. It could be said that it scolded all the medical experts who tried to treat the patient. Immediately, everyone turned to look at Jiang Tian. Their eyes were burning with anger. If looks could kill, Jiang Tian would have died 100 times. Shameless boasting. If you say that Mr. Park is a quack, then what are you? You're not even a doctor. Zheng Chuha pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded. Mr. Park doesn't have a solution, as if you have a solution. The patient's condition is very serious. This is just a normal medical accident. Murder. You're slandering me. Many TKM doctors were looking for Jiang Tian to help Pu Jingtai. Jiang Tian, do you think you're so great? My grandfather can't do it, but you can. At least my grandfather is willing to try, but you don't even have the courage to try. You've still lost this round. Pu Yunjing put her hands on her hips and ground her fine silver teeth. Her face was full of disdain as she argued unreasonably. "I have a pill that can cure all diseases." Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. With a wave of his hand, a small medicine bottle suddenly appeared. He handed it to Zhang Yanghao and said, "Feed it to them." Hiss. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. They all sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a monster. Isn't his tone too arrogant? A medicine that can cure 10,000 diseases doesn't conform to basic medical knowledge. As the saying goes, prescribing medicine to the symptoms is the same in both the East and West. A medicine can only cure a few diseases. As they spoke, Zhang Yanghao had already fed the medicine to them. According to Jiang Tian's instructions, he did not close the cabin door. At this moment, Jiang Tian took a silver needle from Shinmange and flicked it with his fingers. TSK. 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 Countless silver needles were shot into the acupoints of the patient who was declared dead. Is this Huaxia's acupuncture? This is Huaxia's flying needle technique, also known as qi manipulation. It's really qi manipulation. Look, he's not even touching the silver needles, but the silver needles are vibrating rhythmically. This is too magical. Mysterious TCM. Someone exclaimed and looked at Jiang Tian in a different light. His accuracy in identifying acupoints and his acupuncture technique is truly unparalleled. Even Yang Rongyan was dumbfounded with her eyes widened. She was born in a medical family and taught in a famous university. She was knowledgeable and knew many famous doctors. But when it came to acupuncture, Jiang Tian could be said to be unparalleled in Huaxia. She had never seen such magical acupuncture technique. This young man from Huaxia is an expert. This was the first time that Pu Jingtai had a grave expression on his face. His brows were locked together as an unprecedented sense of danger surged in his heart. He can't possibly be able to treat this patient, right? Pu Yunjing's face was as pale as paper as her hands trembled. So he does have some skills. The faces of Zheng Chuha and many TKM supporters changed. The patient's heart has recovered. The patient is breathing. He's awake. He's opening his eyes. Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. Under Jiang Tian's magical acupuncture technique, the patient actually opened his eyes and his heartbeat became stronger. Then, everyone saw a shocking scene. The patient's festering skin was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The skin was bright and clean as if it was reborn. Oh my God! The wound is healing at such a speed. This is too terrifying. A miracle. This is definitely a miracle in the history of medicine. No, even a miracle can't be described. This is a miracle. Only a God can do this. Oh my God, what did I just see? Unbelievable. Could it be that the omnipotent God has descended? The entire venue was filled with exclamations. Everyone looked at the magical scene in shock as they looked at Jiang Tian, who was standing with his hands behind his back. Half an hour later, all the patients' skin was healed and they stood up one by one. Oh my God, where am I? Am I dead? Many patients asked in disbelief as they looked at their bodies that seemed to have been reborn. You're already healed because you've met the real God. Many Western medicine doctors said with a smile. Old Master Jiang, today, Divine Dr. Jiang defeated TKM and saved Chinese medicine by himself. He's famous in the international medical community. Zhang Yanghao looked at Jiang Tian's back with respect as if he was looking at a god. Yeah, not bad. Jiang Changgang nodded proudly. He had always been modest and polite, but he couldn't suppress the pride in his heart at this moment. That's my grandson, you know. Divine Dr. Jiang is indeed a divine doctor. He did it. He actually did it. Mo Zhengrong shed tears of excitement. That's amazing. In the history of Chinese medicine in Huaxia, there has never been such an amazing doctor. He's a god. Yang Rongyan's impression of Jiang Tian had completely changed. He was dumbfounded. That's amazing. This is the miracle of Chinese medicine. Many Chinese medicine doctors hugged each other, jumping, crying, and laughing. Tears flew everywhere, but they were tears of joy, tears of pride, and tears of excitement. They could hold their heads high. Did you see that? Chinese medicine isn't bad at all. Chinese medicine shouldn't die out. Did you see that? Chinese medicine is such a precious treasure. It's a loss for the world to reject Chinese medicine. Did you see that? Chinese medicine is better. Chinese medicine is the source of TKM and Chinese medicine. There were even people who looked at the representatives of Western medicine, Korean medicine, Eastern Chinese medicine, and other medical schools and shouted with tears in their eyes. They were almost screaming. This was a form of catharsis. After all, Chinese medicine had been suppressed by TKM for too long. The world only knew about TKM, but not Chinese medicine. TKM had plagiarized the essence of TCM, but they refused to admit it and set up another mountain. They even wanted to apply for the World Heritage Site. They even inverted the truth and slandered TKM as the source of TCM. They were simply forgetting their ancestors. Chinese medicine is indeed amazing. It's like a miracle. Many Western medicine and Chinese medicine doctors nodded and sighed. Mr. Zhang's medical skills are like a god. It's beyond the limits of human knowledge. It has already explored an unknown territory. Experts from more than 50 countries around the world bowed slightly to Jiang Tian, expressing their utmost respect to this medical expert. He cured me. Park Shengtai's expression changed drastically. Shock, defeat, dejection, humiliation, anger, and hatred flashed across his face. But in the end, his expression darkened. He lowered his head and was about to leave. At that moment, Jiang Tian looked at Park Shengtai and said coldly, "Mr. Park, are you in such a hurry to leave?" Mo Zhengrong even reached out to block his path and said, "Mr. Park Shengtai, have you forgotten your bet with Divine Dr. Jiang? There are so many witnesses and media at the scene. This matter is of great importance. We respect UNESCO's decision." Park Shengtai's face was covered in sweat. Park Yunjing looked at Charles for help. Charles stood up and walked slowly to the stage. He pondered for a while and said, "It's obvious that Mr. Zhang's treatment is better than Park Shengtai's in this competition. This Park Yunjing frowned. Could it be that this old bastard is going to eat his fill and not admit it? You said that you would help me. But the next moment, Charles changed the topic and said with a smile, as for whether Mr. Jiang won or not, we can't make a hasty decision. Why? Isn't it obvious? Yeah, the patient can stand up. After testing, the virus in her body has disappeared. Many Chinese medicine doctors were indignant. First of all, did Mr. Jiang use pure Chinese medicine? We all know that Chinese medicine is known for treating symptoms and root causes. But at the same time, the effect is very slow. It usually takes dozens of days to take effect. But the effect of Mr. Jiang's medicine is so fast and obvious. So, Mr. Jiang's medicine needs to be tested. Charles said calmly. What? He said that Mr. Jiang used Western medicine. But is there any Western medicine in the world that has such a good effect? That's slander. That's slander. Many Chinese medicine doctors were so angry that they almost fainted. They shouted loudly. If you disturb the order of the venue again, I'll ask the security to kick you out. Charles said arrogantly. Let him speak. Jiang Tian said calmly. Second of all, even if Mr. Jiang used pure Chinese medicine and traditional Chinese medicine, does this mean that Mr. Jiang's medical skills are better than Mr. Park Xintai's? There's an old saying in Huaxia, horses have messed up hooves, and people make mistakes. It means that even the best person will make mistakes. I believe that Mr. Park Xintai just made a mistake, and Mr. Jiang just happened to encounter a case that he's good at. Charles said with an elegant demeanor, so, this doesn't prove that Mr. Jiang's medical skills are better than Mr. Park Xintai's. Chapter 390. When everyone heard this, they were enraged. They wanted nothing more than to rush onto the stage and tear Charles into pieces. This is simply bullying. There's no justice in this world. They've already colluded. When we didn't win, they said that TCM is inferior to TKM. But now that we've won, they said that the competition is invalid. They can do whatever they want and ignore the facts. Are they trying to bully our Huaxia? This is too much. Many TCM physicians were so angry that they teared up. They were so angry that their chests were about to explode. Mo Jinrong's face was flushed red as he spoke in fluent English. Mr. Charles, I've raised a serious protest and strong dissatisfaction with UNESCO. This is unfair. Only Jiang Tian said calmly, Mr. Charles, even if I beat Park Xingtai, it can't prove that traditional Chinese medicine is better than traditional Chinese medicine, nor can it prove that traditional Chinese medicine is the source of traditional Chinese medicine. Do you still want to continue the application? You can understand it that way. Charles casually shrugged as his calm and dignified voice resounded throughout the venue. This is just a competition between the two of you. It can't prove the superiority of TKM and TCM. I believe that we should look at TKM from a broader perspective. It's the treasure of the Korean nation, and it should be a precious heritage of the world. Enough. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered to listen to his nonsense and directly interrupted. Charles immediately announced that TKM's application has failed. Park Xingtai, Park Yunjing, immediately announced that TKM is a part of TCM, or change your name to TCM. Otherwise, I'll ruin your reputation and make you beg for death. Mr. Jiang, are you joking? Charles was at a loss whether to cry or laugh as he looked at Jiang Tian. He didn't feel anything in his heart and even felt like laughing. He was an official of UNESCO, and he had the final say in the application. His position was transcendent, and the appointment could only be made after careful consideration by the leader of UNESCO. But this brat actually dared to boast so shamelessly, saying that he would ruin his reputation. Seeing Charles's attitude, Park Yunjing knew that TKM would definitely win this round. Like a high and mighty princess, she looked down at Jiang Tian and sneered, Mr. Jiang, do you know that this is already considered a personal threat? I can sue you. But I also understand the feelings of a loser, so I won't bicker with you. Mr. Jiang, You heard what Mr. Charles said. Dayu Pharmaceutical Company will not give it to you either. Because I also suspect that you are cheating. You are using Western medicine. Pu Jingtai stood with his hands behind his back and sneered. This is obviously an illegal bet. If he insists on snatching it, then let's go to court. Zheng Chuha also sneered in agreement. Their family clans can do whatever they want in South Korea. The judicial department had long been connected. Jiang Tian wanting to take away Dayu Pharmaceutical was simply a fool's dream. Hee, they really don't know what's good for them. Mange, let them see. Jiang Tian smiled. Yes. Shen Mange immediately went to the multimedia system next to the rostrum. He took out a USB drive and inserted it into the computer. Immediately, a video was played on the big screen. What is she doing? Is she going to talk about the origin of Chinese medicine? Will it work? I have the final say in this place. Charles casually took a sip of tea and did not even turn his head. He was confident that he had Jiang Tian and the rest in his grasp. However, the next moment, he saw Pu Yunjing's expression change drastically, and he also heard a voice that scared him out of his wits. Beautiful Ms. Pu, the application for TKM has been approved. You only need to announce it at the venue tomorrow. But you have to fulfill your promise. Charles, I said that I will not mistreat you. Dayu Pharmaceutical Company issued bearer bonds with a face value of 2 million USD. The liquidity in the market is very good, and you can exchange them at any financial institution. Charles instantly felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. His hair stood on end as if he had heard the whispers of the devil. Damn it! Turn off the video. He rushed toward Shinmange like a brown bear and pushed Shinmange's chest. Slap! Shinmange raised her hand and gave Charles a big slap on his face, which sent him flying 5 meters away. Charles fell to the ground and shouted, "Security, staff, get the computer back. What are you waiting for? Hurry up." Pu Yunjing also quickly ordered the bodyguards behind her. It was almost time for the key plot. Yes. Several security guards from the organizing committee and the Park family's private bodyguards rushed toward Shinmange, punching and kicking. However, they were just ordinary people. How could they be Shinmange's opponents? Shinmange's fingers hit the air and knocked down one after another, making them all lose their fighting strength. Ms. Pu is a very trustworthy businesswoman. But the conditions you mentioned before don't seem to be just these, right? Of course I didn't forget. Then there was the sound of violent breathing. The high-definition and censored brawl on the big screen was very exciting. 18 positions were unlocked one after another. Obscenities, lewd laughter, and color, smell, and taste were all present. Dumbfounded. Everyone looked at Charles and then looked at Pu Yunjing. They only felt that it could be said that it was the most exciting drama they had ever experienced in their lives. At this time, they suddenly understood why Jiang Tian was so overbearing. It turned out that he had such a terrible bomb. It was no exaggeration to say that this bomb could not only blow up the results of the application of TKM by Park Jingtai's family, but also destroy UNESCO. Many years later, when everyone drank a glass of wine in the bar and recalled the young man who made a scene at the application of TKM, they could not help but shake their heads and sigh. They gave a thumbs up and praised, "That Hua Xia kid is simply too ruthless. This is the biggest scandal in the history of our UNESCO. Charles is the biggest shame in our history." The officials of UNESCO were all livid. They looked at Charles as if they could kill him. Turn off the power. Pu Yunjing only felt dizzy. Her face was red, green, and white, and finally became completely pale. She was paler than a dead person who had been dead for 3 days. Her delicate body was trembling. "Why don't you finish watching such an exciting plot?" Jiang Tian smiled and flicked his fingers. The bodyguards of Park Jingtai's family stood there motionless as if they were immobilized. The T-18 scene was still going on. It was quite explosive. The reporters were all excited. They aimed their cameras at the big screen and aimed at Pu Yunjing, Charles, and the other parties involved. This is absolutely explosive. Charles from UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage Protection Group actually slept with Pu Yunjing. Scandal. It's definitely a big scandal, big news. Not only was there monetary bribery, but there was also sexual bribery. Oh my God, it turns out that they even plagiarized the patent of Medicine King Group. Charles even wanted to help them hide it from the world. This is too shocking. Shady. It's too shady. To them, they only wanted to see the world in chaos. If there was no accident, there would be no story and no news. This was definitely a huge scandal, a huge accident. If it was reported, it would definitely ignite the whole world. Yunjing, I really didn't expect. Zheng Chua's face was pale as his eyes were about to split apart. His whole body was trembling violently. He never expected that the goddess he admired would be so obscene behind his back. She had just agreed to be his girlfriend that night, but she turned around and slept with Charles. This made him feel deep despair, humiliation, and anger. Chuha, this is the only time Pu Yunjing knew that tonight, she and her TKM and Korean medicine business were completely finished. Even her love was over. 2 crystal clear tears silently slid down Zheng Chua's face. He closed his eyes, but Pu Yunjing's coquettish and ear-piercing voice still echoed in his ears. He was devoted to Pu Yunjing and protected her like a loyal dog. A few years ago, Park Jin-tai's family made a mistake in expanding, and the capital chain was almost broken. He took out more than 201 from his family as an interest-free loan to the Park family. This directly caused him to be impeached by the board of directors, and he almost lost his position as the CEO. But now, Pu Yunjing actually treated him like this. He suddenly raised his hand and slapped Pu Yunjing's face as he roared, "Bastard! Bitch! If it weren't for me and the support of modern industry, how could you, Pu Yunjing, be where you are today?" Following that, he grabbed Pu Yunjing's hair with one hand and slapped her face again and again. He said angrily, "But, how did you treat me? Do you think I'm a toy?" Chapter 391. I was just putting on a show. Pu Yunjing helplessly defended herself as she gave a lame excuse that even she did not believe. For a moment, the scene was in chaos. Pu Yunjing's cries and begging for mercy, Zheng Chua's cursing and beating, Pu Jintai's persuasion, Cui Juanshi's scream, and Charles's screams all joined together and soared into the sky. Suddenly, the sound from the stereo stopped, and the image froze. The video ended. At this moment, one of the highest-ranking officials from UNESCO walked up to the stage and said with regret and shame on his face, "Everyone, it's clear that there's a despicable academic corruption in UNESCO, and there's also a serious unfairness in TKM's World Heritage application. I would like to express my deepest apologies to all the medical workers in the world, especially to Huasia's TCM." He bowed deeply under the flashing lights and countless reporters taking photos. He remained bowed for half a minute before he straightened his back. "After an emergency discussion, we have decided to remove Mr. Charles from his position in UNESCO. Furthermore, TKM's World Heritage application has failed." What? Charles felt as if he was struck by lightning as he lowered his head in despair. He knew that his academic career was over, and no academic institution would accept him. This was a loss that he could not bear. Furthermore, he had no idea how to face his wife and children. They would definitely know about this matter, right? This, as if he was struck by lightning, Pak Young-tae's body froze and his face instantly turned pale as he begged, "President Kissinger, the development of our TKM in recent years is obvious to all." President Kissinger did not even look at him as he looked at the representative of TCM with anticipation and smiled. "Everyone, we have finally witnessed the miracles of TCM today. It's truly worthy of being the treasure of Huasia's civilization with 5,000 years of history. We look forward to TCM's World Heritage application, and we also hope that TCM can succeed." Many TKM doctors were like frosted eggplants. They were completely listless as they lowered their prideful heads with dejection written all over their faces. That's great. That's great. TKM deserves this outcome for plagiarizing TCM's achievements. He deserves it. We support UNESCO's fair decision. This Hua gathering is the first victory of those South Korean plagiarists. Both the Dragon Boat Festival and Libai were stolen by them. Today, TKM's application for the World Heritage Site finally failed. This means that plagiarism won't work. On the other hand, the Chinese medicine practitioners of Hua were so excited that their faces turned red. They clapped and cheered, jumping up and down happily. That is to say, the application of traditional Chinese medicine to the World Heritage Site is successful. There is basically no escape. Everyone was talking about it. Well, since the president of UNESCO has spoken, it means that he absolutely agrees. Next, it's just a procedure. Zhang Yanghao nodded happily and looked at Mo Zhengrong. However, he found that Mo Zhengrong had turned his head away. His eyes were slightly red, and he was secretly wiping his tears. Wiping his tears, Mo Zhengrong looked at Jiang Tian with gratitude and sighed, "This time, I have to thank divine physician Jiang. He has single-handedly pushed Chinese medicine to the international stage. He is a great contributor to the development of Chinese medicine. Since the founding of the People's Republic of China, there is no one who can compare to him in terms of the development of traditional Chinese medicine." Everyone's gazes landed on Jiang Tian in unison. He stood there indifferently with his hands behind his back. His gaze and expression were extremely calm, without the slightest ripple. It was as if all of this was within his expectations. It was as if doing such a shocking feat was as easy as casually sweeping away a cloud of dust. Everyone agreed with him. In fact, Jiang Tian did not have much involvement in the Chinese medicine industry. He only did 2 or 3 things, and they were enough to leave a mark in history. First, Jiang Tian built the Fersky laboratory and developed the theory and technology of extracting TCM ultramicromolecules with Huang Zhihui. This gave birth to Huaxia's first Nobel Prize in Medicine. Second, under Jiang Tian's plan, the Jiang family launched a new product and became the first modern Chinese medicine enterprise worth over 10 million renminbi. Lastly, the counterattack today was to defeat TKM's scheme of applying for the World Heritage Site and restore TCM's reputation. It might sound like a simple task, but when he thought about it carefully, it was practically an impossible task for TKM to complete. Regardless of Pak Chung-tae's medical skills, Pak Yunjing and Charles's secret alliance, or Pak Chung-tae's family's influence in South Korea, they are all unshakable. But none of these things can be shaken. In front of Jiang Tian, they were like paper dolls or sand castles. With a wave of his hand, they shattered and collapsed. Among them, whether it was Jiang Tian's superb medical skills, his eloquence in the battle of words, or his terrifying scheming in taking out the video in the end, none of them could compare to him. They were all in awe of him. What is this called? This is called being annihilated in the blink of an eye. Someone sighed. That's right. This is too awesome. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in unison, not knowing how to sigh for a moment. After that, President Kissinger announced the end of the meeting, and everyone left the venue. During the whole process, many judges, officials, and medical experts from all over the world shook hands with Jiang Tian and Huaxia's TCM doctors and invited them for an academic exchange. As for Park Zhengtai and the other TKM doctors, they did not even look at them. Many people know this. After this battle, TKM's decades of hard work will be destroyed, and the world will abandon them. As for TCM, it will go global and step onto the world's medical stage. Park Zhengtai, you better remember to fulfill your end of the bet. Don't wait for me to take away your DU pharmaceutical company's assets. I don't have time for that. You better come to me yourself. Jiang Tian smiled and left. Do you think I will give up? Park Zhengtai's face turned pale, and he waved his arms angrily. No. TKM did not lose. I, Park Zhengtai, did not lose. You will not get what you want. This is South Korea, not Hwaseong. This is not a place where you TCM doctors can do whatever you want. This incident spread like wildfire throughout South Korea, Hwaseong, and the rest of the world. Many media outlets were present at the scene, and they reported on this incident. Soon, this incident became the headlines of many media outlets. This is simply too heaven-defying. Hwaseong's TCM is amazing. Many medical professors and researchers were studying that magical video, and they were shocked by it. This is the best way to show our country's strength. That's right. He had foiled the Koreans' conspiracy. This is awesome. Many Chinese physicians were elated. Miracle Dr. Jiang Tian had become a national hero in everyone's hearts. Although the South Korean government had restricted Park Yunjing's video and asked the reporters to delete it out of humanitarian reasons, the sex bribery scandal still spread. Sigh. I thought TKM is amazing, but it turns out it was all because of selling its body. TCM is the source of TKM and is the best. We must choose TCM in the future and reject TKM. TKM is cheating the world and plagiarizing TCM's achievements. We must boycott them. They are thieves, and we must chase them out of our cities. Places like Washington, New York, London, etc. have strong IP protection. Many citizens are disgusted by Park Yunjing's sexual bribery and TKM's actions. Some people even took action. They put up banners in front of TKM's clinics and protested loudly. Soon, TKM is like a rat on the street, and everyone wants to beat it up. Even in more chaotic cities like New York and Detroit, there were even cases of hooligans taking advantage of the situation and looting Korean medical centers. So, Mr. Jiang went to Silver Hall to do this. This is amazing. At 8 p.m., Li Huiyan, who was dressed to the nines, saw the news and was shocked. Even though she did not follow this incident, many of her friends in the entertainment industry are following this incident. They know she is in South Korea and forwarded the news to her. They even asked her to get Jiang Tian's autograph. She was even a little regretful that she should have followed Jiang Tian to the Silver Hall in the morning, because Yin Dongyuan brought her around his company like he was showing off his wealth, but they didn't reach any cooperation. I wonder if Jiang Tian will reply to me if I contact him now. Li Huiyan thought to herself. Li Huiyan knows there is no need to trouble two people for the same thing. If she wants to cooperate in South Korea, she will either not hug Jiang Tian's thigh or hug Jiang Tian's thigh. This showed his trust and loyalty to a person. Li Huiyan had left with Yin Dongyuan in the morning, and it will be taboo for her to look for Jiang Tian again. Are you talking about that Mr. Jiang we met in the Silver Hall this morning? Yin Dongyuan asked with a smile. Yes. Li Huiyan immediately keeps her phone. He is in trouble. Yin Dongyuan swirled his wine glass and said. He might not even be able to walk out of South Korea alive. Chapter 392. What did you say? Li Huiyan asked in disbelief. Mr. Jiang is very famous in Hwaseong, and he has a terrifying influence in South and East China. Don't tell me that you guys want to make a move. It's a pity that he is in Hwaseong. Yin Dongyuan smiled and replied in disdain, no wonder you wanted to follow him this morning. So it turns out that he's the young master of the Medicine King Corporation. I didn't know about it before, and I only found out about it after watching the news today. But you should be glad that you did not go with him. If you went with him, you might be a corpse by now. Why? Li Huiyan's heart was pounding. Yin Dongyuan shook his head. The Park family had suffered a great loss this time, and Park Yunjing had hired a hitman to make a move. Furthermore, you should know that this is a national humiliation for South Korea. All the government will support the Park family. How can you guys do this? Li Huiyan's heart sank as she took out her phone to call Jiang Tian to remind him to be careful. Seeing this, Yin Dongyuan snatched her phone and said with a dark face. Ms. Li, you better respect yourself and make a choice that suits you. Don't get yourself into trouble. Give me back my phone. Li Huiyan snapped and tried to snatch her phone back. Yin Dongyuan placed the phone into the ice bucket filled with red wine. The phone was soaked, and the screen turned black. Shrugging his shoulders, Yin Dongyuan smiled. Now that your phone is broken, we should enjoy this wonderful night together. You can't save him, and no one can save him. You're shameless. Li Huiyan said angrily. Let's go. Accompany me to meet my friends. They will be beneficial to you. Yin Dongyuan was not angry and laughed. Furthermore, you will meet the palace master of Tanjun Daoist Palace later. I heard that she is looking for a music teacher, and your singing is pretty good. Do you know what it means if you become her music teacher? I don't care. I'm leaving. Li Huiyan waved her hand and left. She wanted to find a phone to inform Jiang Tian. Stop. Yin Dongyuan grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his arms. He said coldly, don't you know how influential you are in Huaxia? You don't even have the chance to work with the South Korean film industry, let alone those big productions. Do you know what it means to come with me? Please maintain your gentlemanly demeanor. Show some respect and let me go. Li Huiyan pulled with all her strength, leaving a few bruises on her wrist, but she couldn't get rid of his hand. Respect? Yin Dongyuan smiled coldly and said, don't pretend to be noble and virtuous. Everyone knows the rules of this circle. Don't pretend to be virtuous. If you want to get those resources, you have to accompany me tonight. If not, I can ban you from South Korea, and you will not be able to get any roles. Since they had shed all pretense of cordiality, Yin Dongyuan might as well reveal his true intentions and threaten them verbally. Hearing this, Li Huiyan's face turned pale. She knew that Yin Dongyuan was not trying to scare her. He definitely had the ability to do so. Right at this moment, a cold shout was heard, you stupid club, what are you pulling and pulling for? Yin Dongyuan looked up. Jiang Tian, who was dressed in casual clothes, walked in with Li Fujian, Yi Ziwei, and Shen Mange, the three beauties, swaying and sloppily walking in. Jiang Tian, why are you here? Seizing the opportunity when Yin Dongyuan was stunned, Li Huiyan abruptly struggled free, and she disregarded the bloody mark left on her white wrist as she walked quickly to Jiang Tian's side and said in a low voice, They want to harm you, I know. Jiang Tian replied calmly. After the medical exchange conference ended in the afternoon, assassins had been tailing them when they left the convention center. But Li Fujian also has about 8 bodyguards with her, and the assassins did not have the chance to make a move. Jiang Tian does not want to attend the banquet as he wants to leave South Korea. But when he heard from Li Fujian that Park Chung-tae's family might appear at the banquet to recruit supporters, he decided to join them. Yin Dongyuan saw 4 beauties with Jiang Tian, and one of them is the eldest princess of the Xingyue family. He was jealous. Ms. Li, please maintain your demeanor. Don't make me use violence. He grabbed Li Huiyan's arm again and tried to snatch her away from Jiang Tian. The other guests turned a blind eye to this. They raised their champagne glasses and chatted nonchalantly. In high society gatherings, it is common for women to have conflicts with rich young masters. Unless a rich young lady like Li Fujian is a model, she is just a plaything for the rich and powerful. Furthermore, this convention center belongs to Yin Dongyuan's family, and the security guards listen to him. Who dares to interfere? Who can interfere with his actions? Li Fujian could not stand it anymore and shouted, Yin Dongyuan, you are too much. Stop it. Li Fujian, this has nothing to do with you. Yin Dongyuan snorted and glanced at her. Xingyue family is more powerful than Letian Entertainment, but Yin Dongyuan is the heir of Letian Entertainment. The heir of Xingyue family is the mysterious Li Yinxin. Perhaps when Li Jianxi and Li Yinxin appeared, he needed to be cautious and courteous. However, as for Li Fujian, he really didn't care. You're so rude. You've lost the demeanor of the upper class. Li Fujian angrily reprimanded. 3 days ago, I had brought her to 4 film companies, investors, and introduced 5 directors to her. Yin Dongyuan replied disdainfully. Do you think all these are free? Do you think she does not know the rules of the industry and the price she is about to pay? Now, she stood me up. Does she think I am an idiot? Li Huiyan's face turned pale, and she lowered her head, not daring to look into Jiang Tian's eyes. Actually, she had never agreed to this kind of deal, but she was also worried that Jiang Tian would think that she was the kind of person who relied on her body to climb up the ranks. He'll probably despise me and ignore me in the future. Li Fuzhen looked at Jiang Tian helplessly. If she is Jiang Tian's woman, or even his friend, she will help him. But now, she feels that this vase is not qualified to be Jiang Tian's friend. Just when Li Huiyan is in despair, Jiang Tian said calmly. You idiot. You don't know what's going on. What did you say? Yin Dongyuan's eyes turned red, and he gritted his teeth. This brat is too arrogant. His words are all about idiots, just like what the rumors say. He stepped on Zheng Chuhe and Pu Yunjing in the morning, and now he wants to step on me. Idiot. Your hearing is too bad. Jiang Tian took a glass of champagne from Li Fuzhen and looked down at Yin Dongyuan. Li Huiyan is willing to act in your movie, and she is giving you all face. You're really a toad lusting after a swan's meat. Li Huiyan looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. She was filled with gratitude. She didn't think that Jiang Tian would be willing to speak up for her, and in such a domineering manner. You. Yin Dongyuan was so angry that his liver trembled. You're twisting words and forcing logic. Everyone knows that our South Korean film industry is more developed than yours. She made use of my resources, and she has to pay the price. Get lost. Li Fuzhen saw Jiang Tian's attitude and immediately points at Yin Dongyuan. How dare you speak to Master Kong in this manner? Are you seeking death? Miss Li, Mr. Yin, what is going on? When Li Fuzhen spoke to Yin Dongyuan again, a few big shots from the entertainment industry came over to ask about the situation. Yin Dongyuan can bully a Huaxia celebrity like Li Huiyan, but it is a big deal when Li Fuzhen is involved. If Li Fuzhen bullies Yin Dongyuan, the entire South Korean film industry will be embarrassed. That's why they came over to help Yin Dongyuan. These few big shots from the entertainment industry are famous investors and directors. One of them, Yin Digwe, had won South Korea's Golden Bell Award for Best Director and an Oscar award. He had won countless awards, and his hands are sore. Yin Dongyuan started to tell Li Huiyan about how she seduced him and is willing to spend a few nights with him to introduce investors to him. But Yin Dongyuan abhorred such behavior and sternly refused. Now, Li Huiyan brought her assistant and friends to pester and threaten him. You are slandering me. Li Huiyan almost cried when she heard what Yin Digwe said. Yin Digwe laughed. Huaxia's film industry is filthy, and I did not expect Miss Li to bring these bad habits to our South Korea. Damn it. Yin Digwe looks at Li Huiyan coldly and sneered. I am representing the South Korean film industry to announce that we will ban Miss Li Huiyan forever. Please leave. You all are bullying me. What right do you all have to ban me? Li Huiyan cried. Because Mr. Yin Digwe is South Korea's most famous director and the president of South Korea's Film and Television Association. Yin Dongyuan laughed and said with a dark expression. Miss Li Huiyan, if you are willing to come to my villa in Westwater Cave tonight to apologize to me, I might ask Mr. Yin Digwe to take back his order. Yin Dongyuan is determined to get what he wants. He does not believe Li Huiyan is willing to give up the South Korean market and opportunities. He had played this kind of trick too many times, and it worked every time. No one could withstand this kind of terrifying pressure. Many South Korean film industry moguls are looking at Li Huiyan like a cat playing with a mouse. I will not apologize to you. Dream on. Li Huiyan took a deep breath and said coldly. Yin Dongyuan's face froze, and he laughed. Have you considered it carefully? Do you know what you are rejecting? If I am willing, we will let you win the Big Bell Award soon. Li Huiyan looked at Jiang Tian and said firmly. I know, but I refuse. Are you retarded? Yin Dongyuan asked in disbelief. You are the one who is retarded. Jiang Tian laughed. What's so great about the Big Bell Award? What's so great about the Oscars? It's like trash. You think you can fool girls with this thing and these ridiculous chips? You're really confident. What a joke. Chapter 393. Why are you glaring at me? I'm teaching you how to pick up girls. Ignoring Yin Dongyuan's flushed face, Jiang Tian said unhurriedly, let me tell you, if you want to chase a girl, you have to put in a lot of money. You have to use real money. Taking out $1 billion or so to buy a yacht and give it away, that's what you call sincerity and courage. Someone like you, who doesn't even want to spend a single drop of blood to win a girl's heart, you're really poor. A toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Good. Good. Very good. You dare to pick on me? I will make you regret it. Yin Dongyuan's face was ashen, and then he pointed at Jiang Tian with a hideous grin and said loudly, everyone, this is our highest level of celebration, the gathering place of many high-ranking officials, rich people, and famous people. But why is there a doctor from Huaxia here? She's a scammer. She even slandered our TKM's doctor. In an instant, everyone's gazes shot over. There was some disdain, some hatred, and some hostility. Li Huiyan's face turned red. At the same time, Park Yung-tae stepped forward and pointed at Jiang Tian. He's the one who slandered our TKM and caused our application to fail. He's the enemy of the entire country. Oh, so he's the one who started a war with our TKM and messed up our application. That girl from Huaxia not only offended Yin Dongyuan, but she's also with the culprit. She's in trouble now. Yin Dongyuan is a vengeful person, and he's hard to deal with. Now that she's with this doctor from Huaxia, it's the same as going against the entire South Korea. She will be torn to pieces. Many tycoons, high-ranking officials, and celebrities in South Korea looked at Jiang Tian and Li Huiyan with mockery, sympathy, and gloating. Yin Dongyuan, Park Yung-tae. Are you trying to chase me out? Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, Pu Zhengtai, you idiot. I originally wanted to let you off, but you sent assassins to tail me. Now, you even came here to deliver your head to me recklessly. Looks like I have no choice but to kill you. On the side, Li Fuzhen crossed his arms and sneered, the contempt in his eyes overflowing. In many people's eyes, Jiang Tian was Li Fuzhen's friend. The darker ones might even associate him with a boy toy. But in reality, Jiang Tian was the backer of Xingyue Li family, Tan Jun's faction, and the South Korean government. Yin Dongyuan and Park Zhengtai were just two scumbags. How dare they challenge Jiang Tian? They must be tired of living. So what if I kick you out? Yin Dongyuan pointed at Jiang Tian and barked arrogantly, those who can attend Tan Jun's celebration are all members of South Korea's upper society. Not a single Huaxia was invited. What right do you have to sneak in? Get out of here. He had vaguely heard that there was a peerless expert called Kang Tae-chu who had repelled the Japanese experts and saved Lord Tanjuan's lineage. It was said that even the palace master of the Tanjun Daoist palace, Li Jinju, treated him like a god, and even the president had to bow down to him. This was a high-class gathering, but the enemy of TKM was here. Wasn't he here to cause trouble? Do you know that Tanjun's celebration is to welcome me, Kang Tae-chu? Jiang Tian smiled. On the side, Li Huiyan's face suddenly changed as she looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. She had heard of Kang Tae-chu's name many times in Huaxia's upper society gatherings. They addressed him as Master Kang, saying that he could fly, control lightning, condense energy into weapons, and even drive ghosts. But she never expected that the Master Kang they were talking about was her high school classmate, the Master Kang Jiang Tian that Bai Chofei mentioned. What are you joking about? That person's name is Kang Tae-chu, and he's from South Korea. How could he be a Huasian? Yin Dongyuan laughed so hard that his teeth almost fell off. He was too far away from the Tanjun Daoist palace, and he didn't have access to the core secrets. Furthermore, the surname Jiang was a prominent surname in South Korea. With his twisted pride, he naturally thought that Kang Tae-chu was from South Korea. Ha, you guys are really plagiarizing experts. You said that Li Bai and Chu Yuan are from your country, and Chinese medicine is from your country. Now, I'm from your country. Jiang Tian didn't feel anything in his heart, and he even felt like laughing. Tanjun Daoist Palace's new palace master, Lee Jinju, South Korea's president, Lu Wuxuan, and Star Moon Group's president, Lee Jianxi. Korean Residential Group's chairman, Choi Myung-do, and Hyundai Industries chairman. Greetings, Mr. Kang Tae-chu. It was also at this moment that a loud singing voice resounded throughout the entire venue. Everyone's face changed, and they turned around. Lee Jinju, who was wearing a golden crown and a red gown, was walking down the spiral staircase from a high building, surrounded by important figures. Lee Jinju was like a queen as she led a group of people down the stairs. Under everyone's disbelieving gaze, she walked up to Jiang Tian and bowed respectfully. Greetings, Grand Master Jiang. I, Jin Zhu, lead the South Korean government officials and businessmen. Lee Jinju bowed down gracefully, lowering her noble head and crawling in front of Jiang Tian. Her smooth forehead lightly touched Jiang Tian's shoes. Behind her, Li Jianxi also knelt on the ground. Many tycoons and government officials followed suit. Only Lu Wuxuan didn't kneel. However, he still bowed deeply to Jiang Tian to show his respect to this peerless overlord who had saved the Tanjun family and the spirit of South Korea. He is Kang Tae-chu. Yin Dongyuan was shocked as if he had seen a ghost. Oh my god. I. Park Jung-tae's face turned pale. He clutched his chest and stumbled backward. He was almost scared to death. Suddenly, he realized that he had been abandoned by the Tanjun Daoist palace from the very beginning. He was given to Kang Tae-chu by the Tanjun Daoist palace as a stepping stone for him to promote Chinese medicine to the international market. He was a living target to showcase the strength of Chinese medicine. A thought appeared in his mind: the Park family is finished, and Daewoo Pharmaceuticals can't be saved either. Who is Kang Tae-chu? Yin Digue asked the tycoon beside him in confusion. No one answered him. He seemed to be a famous director with a great reputation. However, he was only the head of an opera troupe in the upper-class society. He was not worth mentioning. Moreover, they knew that this person had offended Kang Tae-chu, and his career as an artist was about to end. Alright, Jinju, get up. Jiang Tian helped Li Jinju to her feet, and Li Jinju held his arm as they walked upstairs. When they walked past Park Jung-tae and Yin Dongyuan, Jiang Tian said calmly, "Those two are not allowed to appear in South Korea." Then, he walked past them and continued walking. Many high-ranking officials and tycoons looked at the two of them sympathetically. They knew that the two of them and their families were finished. The Chue family of Korea and the Zheng family of Hyundai Industries had received the news before the banquet because they were close to Li Jianxi. That was why Zheng Chuhe and Chue Juanxi avoided them. However, the Park family and the Yin family did not receive any news. They did not even have the right to talk to Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian was the backer of the Tanjun family. Even the South Korean government needed his help. That was because Tan Yung's faction was the only superpower in South Korea. Now that it had fallen, many of its officials and tycoons were exposed to the claws of the world's superpowers. Only Jiang Tiankai could protect him. The current Jiang Tian could annihilate Pu Jingtai's family and Yin family with a single sentence, let alone just killing two people. When they arrived at the second-floor banquet hall, Lu Wuxuan raised his wine glass and proposed a toast to Jiang Tian. Mr. Jiang, thank you for saving the Tanjun family and teaching the palace lord of the Dao Palace a peerless skill. Let me propose a toast to the great Mr. Jiang. A toast to the great Mr. Jiang. All the members of the South Korean upper-class society raised their glasses and toasted Jang Tae-yeon. Beside him, Lee Huiyen was shocked. The president of South Korea, the head of the Shingyue Lee family, the chairman of Hyundai Industries, the president of Hyundai Industries. Why are they all so respectful to him? Because he is a godlike man. Lee Jianxi said slowly. Kang Tae-chu had become a force to be reckoned with. He alone could suppress an entire country. Superpowers like the United States, Japan, Russia, and the European Union might not be afraid of Kang Tae-chu, but small countries like South Korea and Singapore could only rely on Kang Tae-chu. Mr. Lee is right. Mr. Jiang is the savior of all South Koreans. He is the hero of South Korea. The people around him nodded in agreement. Lee Huiyen couldn't believe what she was seeing. But she knew she had made the right choice today. She might finally be qualified to ride on Jang Tae-yeon's coattails. In the next few days, Lee Huiyen felt Jang Tae-yeon's power. He was like a god. Yi Ziwei didn't speak Korean well, and Shin Mange didn't understand Korean at all. Lee Huiyen, on the other hand, had learned Korean in order to enter the South Korean entertainment industry. So, she acted as the translator during the process of taking over Daewoo Pharmaceutical. All the departments in South Korea cooperated with Yi Ziwei. The chiefs, secretaries, chairmen, and CEOs were like subordinates greeting their superiors when they see Yi Ziwei and the rest. In just 3 days, Medicine King Group took over all the shares of Park Shin-tae's family. The head of the family that Im Dong-yuan belonged to also led Im Dong-yuan and the senior management of Letian Film and Entertainment Group to apologize to Lee Huiyen. Im Dong-yuan was in tears as he slapped himself in the face, saying that he had failed to recognize Mount Tai. Letian Film and Television was tailor-made for Lee Huiyen. They were preparing a 300 million won Sino-Korean joint venture female lead movie. Of course, Lee Huiyen is the female lead, and Lee Huiyen heard the male lead is South Korea's #1 male star, and the director is a famous director from Hollywood. Lee Huiyen's career has entered a new chapter, and she said she will try her best to persuade Master Kang to give Letian Film and Entertainment Group a chance. But even so, Im Dong-yuan didn't dare to stay in South Korea anymore. He left for France and went to an art school to study film. Actually, it was to avoid Jang Tae-yeon. After that, South Korea's Ministry of Health and Welfare announced that they will shelve TKM's application for World Heritage Sites and admit that traditional Chinese medicine is the origin of TKM. From now on, TKM will be known as traditional Chinese medicine. Chapter 394. Thus, Pak Young-tae publicly apologized to China's TCM Association and the Medicine King Corporation for his actions. He was also sentenced to 10 years in prison for patent infringement. On the day of his imprisonment, Park Shin-tae announced in an interview that he would not practice medicine for the rest of his life. After he was released from prison, he would focus on promoting TCM to make up for his crimes. In the Park Shin-tae family, the culprit, Park Yoon-jing, was ostracized. She was stripped of all her inheritance rights and was even chased out of the family. Everyone kicks a man who is down, and the Park Shin-tae family hated Park Yoon-jing. In fact, they had plagiarized Chinese medicine and Medicine King Group's products and made a fortune in secret. However, she was too high-profile and arrogant. She insisted on applying for Koryo traditional Chinese medicine and squeezing traditional Chinese medicine. The most terrible thing was that she recklessly offended Jiang Taichu, the backer of Lord Tan Daoist Palace. This pushed Pak Shin-tae's family to the point of no return. At the same time, the video of Park Yoon-jing and Charles went viral on the internet. After all, this video was full of emotions and emotions. It was very clear and was very enjoyable to watch. It was way better than the 2008 Hong Kong video by photographer Chen. During this period of time, the first sentence on the internet was, "Do you have that for 4G video?" Pu Yunjing, who had lost her status, wealth, and reputation in one night, whose soul had been torn to shreds by despair, humiliation, resentment, and regret, drank 10 bottles of bamboo charcoal soju that night. In the Daewoo Pharmaceutical Company's headquarters office building, she jumped and fell into a pool of bloody pulp, ending her sad and miserable life. But the South Korean government kept a low profile on this matter, and no media was allowed to report it. They could only say that Park Yoon-jing died in a car accident. This shocking news was only secretly circulated within a small circle of the upper class. The battle between TCM and TKM also came to an end with Park Yoon-jing's suicide. Park Geun-tae family, the leader of TKM, lost everything. Their assets were seized, their founder was imprisoned, and their CEO committed suicide. Even the Hyundai Industries, Daehan Housing, and many other companies and financial groups that had helped them in the past were affected to varying degrees. This incident had a far-reaching impact, and some financial observers claimed that this incident might even change the industrial structure of South Korea. As for Jang Tae-yeon, he did not care about any of this. In his eyes, whether it was Poo Geun-tae, Poo Yoon-jing, or Jang Choo-ha, they were all just ants that he could casually slap to death. He refused the visits of many high-ranking officials, tycoons, and family heads. Instead, he stayed at the Tanjun Daoist Palace to guide Lee Jin-ju's cultivation. He also taught her a set of sword art, the Taishian 13 swords. Now, she was as powerful as the Transcendent State. Unknowingly, Hwasea's National Day arrived. On this day, Jang Tae-yeon, who had finished teaching, smiled and said, "Yes, stepping onto Japanese soil on Hwasea's National Day is very memorable." "Master, are you going to fight the Japanese experts?" Lee Jin-ju was eager to give it a try. "Yeah, why? Do you want to go too?" Jang Tae-yeon raised his eyebrows and asked. "Master raised my cultivation and taught me sword techniques. However, Master also said that the best way to raise one's cultivation is to fight and kill. I think I should try it out." Lee Jin-ju's face was full of pleading as she said in a delicate voice. What you said makes sense. Let's go." Jang Tae-yeon waved his hand and the little black flying sword appeared in front of the two of them. It was not the first time Lee Jin-ju had flown on a flying sword. Since she had cultivated, she was full of excitement and anticipation. She was not afraid at all. She went out and said to her subordinates, "I'm going out to play for a while. Don't look for me." Then, she stepped onto Jang Tae-yeon's flying sword. The flying sword cut through the air and headed south. Lee Jin-ju asked in confusion, "Master, why are we going south? Shouldn't we be going east? Don't you know that every time Hwasea's National Day, a group of patriots will go there to cause trouble?" Jang Tae-yeon said with a smile. In his previous life, although Jang Tae-yeon was a good-for-nothing, he was actually a nationalistic youth. However, at that time, his ability was limited and he could only stop there. To put it bluntly, he was the keyboard warrior that everyone despised on the internet. However, things were different in this life. With Jang Tae-yeon's ability, he could easily sweep away a few Japanese patrol ships. Bang! The flying sword broke through the speed of sound, leaving a trail of white turbulence in its wake. It was so fast that it was breathtaking. Lee Jin-ju hugged Jang Tae-yeon's waist tightly. Her eyes were filled with intoxication. The vast sea stretched as far as the eye could see. A bright moon rose from the sea. A speedboat that was 15 meters long and 3 meters wide sailed out of Ningbo and headed east. On the speedboat, more than a dozen hot-blooded youths were waving red flags. They were in high spirits. This team was formed by a group of patriotic netizens. The members on the boat were very complicated. There were workers, university students, farmers, white-collar workers, boxing coaches, and so on. They came from all over the motherland and spoke with different accents. However, because of the same goal, they were as close as brothers. This speedboat was a high-speed motorboat. If it was equipped with naval cannons and torpedoes, it could be used as a surveillance ship. Of course, the surveillance ship would not support such a disorganized and undisciplined patriotic activity. There was no Hwasea Sea surveillance painted on the hull. It was purely a private recreational speedboat. But for the sake of convenience, they still spray-painted the words, "Family Photo." This motorboat was provided by a young man named Duan Haiyang. This guy was a rich second generation. He was the owner of the hot-blooded Save China Forum. His family was in the seafood business and he was also the organizer of this activity. Duan Haiyang was wearing the outfit of Captain Jack of the Pirates of the Caribbean that he bought online. He even imitated Captain Jack's smoky makeup. With a cigarette in his mouth, he looked straight ahead with a deep gaze as he steered the rudder. He looked majestic and insufferably arrogant. In the cabin, there were more than a dozen patriots gathered together, singing revolutionary songs and talking and laughing. Zhao Xiao was holding a whetstone and sharpening a sharp dagger. His eyes were deep and his face was expressionless. He was so cool that no one had friends. He was muscular and was a boxing coach. He said that he could defeat a special forces soldier. No one knew if it was true or not. He was the military force of this activity. There was another girl named Hao Zi. She was 22 years old and a student of Yenjing University. She was in the history department and looked pure and beautiful. She was the contact person and was also in charge of everyone's logistics. Netizens gathered from all over the country and she was in charge of contacting them. There was another boy who led everyone to sing. His name was Mo Gu. He was a student of Beijing Normal University's Music Education College. He was 1.8 meters tall and handsome. He had participated in the Super Voice talent show. Although he was stopped in the top 50 in the country and did not win the championship, he had captured a lot of fans. He was a famous figure in Beijing Normal University and the entire Yenjing University circle. There was also a guy named Wang Guoqing. However, this guy was not dull at all. He was very funny and was the comedian of this activity. Seeing Zhao Xiao's action, Wang Guoqing smiled and said, "Zhao Xiao, why are you sharpening your knife? It's scary." Zhao Xiao said indifferently with a cigarette in his mouth, "Do you think I'm joking? If I meet those Japanese, I will definitely kill one or two of them." "Damn, you're serious." Wang Guoqing smiled and said, "Under normal circumstances, we will circle around the island and go home. If you want to be more arrogant, we will land on the island, plant the flag, announce our sovereignty, record a video and go home." Zhao Xiao rolled up his sleeves and showed the scars on his arm. He snorted and said, "Do you think I'm joking? In the past, there have always been Japanese maritime securities patrol boats. If they really dare to come, I will kill one or two of them." As he said that, he glanced at the silent girl opposite him. This girl was not a netizen on their forum. In the morning, they were preparing the boat by the sea. When she saw them, she said that she wanted to follow. It could be said that everyone was shocked when they saw this girl. The girl was tall, snow-white, and picturesque. It could be said that she was not inferior to any of the popular Huaxia female celebrities. However, when she got on the boat, she was in a daze. Wang Guoqing asked her about her background. Mo Gu also asked everyone to make her sing. Hao Zi gave her a box of mineral water, but she did not eat or drink. From the beginning to the end, she did not say a word and was in a daze. However, Zhao Xiao realized that this girl was definitely an expert. When she boarded the boat, she jumped 10 meters and the boat did not shake at all. She was a kindred spirit. Zhao Xiao knew that this girl's background was definitely not ordinary. Since ancient times, beauties loved heroes. He said those words to attract the girl's attention. Unfortunately, the girl leaned against the wall of the cabin and closed her eyes to rest. She did not even lift her eyelids. He still could not attract her attention. No wonder she was called the Ice Beauty by everyone. Tang Su was a bank employee. He smiled and said, "Although you say that, it's better not to hurt anyone if you can. If you hurt anyone, I don't know how the Huaxia officials will deal with it. As long as you don't kill anyone, it's not a problem." Wang Guoqing showed his unique sense of humor and said with a smile, "This time, it can be said that we have the best National Day holiday plan." Chapter 395. Boom. Everyone burst into laughter. Wang Guoqing, it's a waste of your talent if you don't go to Dian Society. Tang Su smiled. Wang Guoqing chuckled, I'm not wrong. Traveling between 2 countries and 3 places without spending a single cent is natural and pollution-free. It's also very meaningful. Don't you think so? As he spoke, he glanced at the ice beauty beside him. The ice beauty opened her eyes this time, but she was playing with her phone. She seemed to be paying attention to the news of TKM's application. Wang Guoqing thought to himself, I can tell that she's a patriotic youth, but why doesn't she get along well with everyone? I think that protecting fishing is a way to arouse the people's patriotism. Most importantly, we have to bring this spirit of protecting fishing and patriotism into all aspects of our lives. Mo Gu said with a solemn expression, we have to boycott Japanese goods and reduce tourism to Japan. The government can restrict the export of special resources, especially rare earth. He then talked about the relationship between rare earth resources, Japanese electric vehicles, and energy-saving home appliances. His data was detailed and logical. He explained the profound in simple terms and even reached the strategic level. As expected of a top student from Beijing Normal University. As he spoke, Hao Zi and the other female university students nodded their heads and looked at him with admiration. They almost took out their notebooks and wrote down his golden words word by word. But unfortunately, the ice beauty on the other side still didn't say a word, concentrating on swiping her phone. Wang Guoqing looked at the girl's phone and smiled, that doctor called Jiang Tian on the news is pretty amazing. He defeated the entire TKM in one fell swoop. He raised the prestige of our country. Mo Gu smiled proudly and said in disdain, what's so great about TKM? Actually, Japan's TCM is also copied from Huaxia. If this divine Dr. Jiang has the guts, why doesn't he go to Japan? He doesn't dare to and is afraid of being beaten to death. He's still a coward. Mo Gu did not know what Tang Linglong was looking at. He was just casually talking, but he did not expect to touch Tang Linglong's reverse scale. Tang Linglong suddenly raised her eyebrows and looked at him coldly. You dare to say anything bad about Jiang Tian? Do you want to die? Do you think you're so great just because you took a trip to the Diaoyu Islands? How would you know what he's capable of? Moge's face instantly turned red. He also knew that Tang Linglong's words made sense, but he felt a little embarrassed after being rebuked in public. Before he could say anything, Hao Zi smiled and said, actually, what Mo Gu said makes sense. The news said that divine Dr. Zhang's medical skills were godly, and he should be able to suppress the Chinese doctors. Why didn't he go to Japan? Other than being scared, is there any other explanation? Tang Linglong snorted and said, he's afraid of Japan. You guys are so funny. With his ability, no one can stop him from killing the Emperor of Japan. At this point, she did not want to say anything else. Summer insects could not talk about ice. Besides, her master did not allow her to talk about him in public. Tang Linglong was very popular with this group of men. They all surrounded her, but correspondingly, the 3 girls who came to fish together were treated coldly. Normally, with such courage, knowledge, and magnanimity, a girl who was willing to fish was like a national treasure panda. She should be popular. However, when Tang Linglong joined them, it was a completely different matter. You're exaggerating. Is he not afraid of the Japanese self-defense forces? Is he a god? Hao Zi looked at Tang Linglong as if she was an idiot and sneered disdainfully. Previously, when Fang Zhanbua, a finance professor in Hong Kong, attacked the Medicine King group, he said on TV that this divine Dr. Jiang Tian is a playboy. I checked at night, and it's true. He has played with many famous stars, and his private life is very messy. I heard that he even has an illegitimate child. You're talking nonsense. Tang Linglong was so angry that her face turned green. Her delicate body trembled slightly, and she clenched her fists tightly. She wanted to slap her. Do you want to hit someone? What kind of person are you? If you have the guts, go and fight with the Japanese. The girls stood up and pointed at Tang Linglong. Tang Linglong was filled with hatred. She also understood that these people were not evil people, nor were they mortal enemies. It was just that their mouths were cheap for a moment. Was she really going to kill them? Tang Linglong was very annoyed by the girl's words. She walked out of the cabin, leaned against the railing, and stood on the deck to get some fresh air. Master, why are you with that Southern Korean witch? Why don't you understand Linglong's heart? If you need it, why don't you come to me? The image of Jiang Tian and Li Jinju together appeared in her mind again. Tang Linglong felt like her heart was being stabbed by a knife, and she felt dizzy. I'm such a lunatic. In your heart, I'll always be your disciple. You even hit me for your woman. What am I to you? She clutched her chest with a pained expression. Crystal clear tears flowed out of her eyes again. She suppressed her sobs and almost burst into tears. Fine, I'll die in the sea this time. Living like this is not fun at all. Master, if you know, you won't even shed a tear for me. At this time, Duan Haiyang's excited voice suddenly came from the ship. Attention, fellow countrymen and women. We're about 15 nautical miles away from the Jiaoyu Islands. Everyone, prepare to land on the islands and fight with the Japanese. Ha, we have a lot of friends. They're all Huaxia fishing boats. They're probably here to fish as well. Everyone was very excited. They walked out of their cabins and stood on the deck to watch. Tang Linglong raised her head and looked. There were 3 fishing boats in front of them. They all had Huaxia's flag and were brightly lit. At this time, the wind on the sea was getting stronger and stronger. It had already set off 3-meter-high waves. However, Family Blessing was still moving forward. It accelerated and brushed past the 3 Huaxia fishing boats. Someone on Huaxia's fishing boat used a loudspeaker and shouted, "Hey, friends from Huaxia, don't go any further. Go back quickly. There's a patrol boat from the Japanese Maritime Security Department in front of us. They just drove us out. Go back my ass. This time, we're going to fight with the Japanese." Zhao Xiao said proudly with a cigarette in his mouth. Moge's eyes were burning with the flames of battle. He recited a poem with a solemn face. I hope the cold star doesn't notice. I sacrifice my blood in the yellow sands. I'll wear golden armor after 100 battles. I won't return until I've defeated Lu Lan. Hao Zi and the other girls held hands. They were nervous and excited. They looked at him with admiration. Wang Guoqing smiled and said, "We have to get to the island. Otherwise, our most economical National Day trip will be ruined." Zhang Haiyang, who was at the helm, had a cigarette in his mouth. He laughed boldly and said, "You fishing boats want to protest, but you're afraid of causing international disputes. You're only hanging around 15 nautical miles away. That's like scratching an itch through a boot." At this time, everyone saw that 3 kilometers in front of them, a few Japanese patrol boats were driving away Huaxia's 2 surveillance boats and 3 fishing boats. It was like a cat playing with a mouse. Soon, one of Huaxia's fishing boats was knocked over. A few frogmen from the Japanese patrol boats jumped into the water and scooped up the fishermen. However, the Japanese surveillance boats continued to ram into the other 2 Huaxia's fishing boats. They almost capsized several times. As for Huaxia's surveillance boats, they were too small compared to the other party. They could not be of much use even if they wanted to protect them. They were completely useless. For a moment, everyone felt a little scared. Fuck, they're so ruthless. They even sank Huaxia's fishing boats. Maybe the fishermen will drown. Are these the surveillance boats of the Japanese Maritime Security Agency? Only Tang Linglong's eyes were burning with fighting spirit. Moge's face was ashen. He quickly put on a life jacket. The others also followed suit. The Japanese patrol boats were more than 10 meters above the sea. What did 10 meters mean? It was as high as a 6-story building. If you looked at photos and videos, it would not be much. However, if you took a small speedboat and looked up, you would feel shocked. It was as if you were facing a huge monster. It was like a small insect looking up at a lion or a tiger. It felt especially powerless and small. A sense of fear emerged involuntarily. Hai Yang. Why don't we stop? Wang Guqing suppressed the fear in his heart and said with a smile, if we just stand here, they'll probably take us to Japan for a vacation. But if we crash into them, we might really sink. That's not a joke. Zhang Haiyang was still hesitating. He had not decided whether to move forward or not. Tang Linglong rushed into the cockpit. With a flick of her arm, she pushed Zhang Haiyang to the side. She began to steer the boat with a frosty expression. She sped up and rammed into one of the huge Japanese patrol boats. Chapter 396. Fuck, you don't want to live anymore. Zhang Haiyang was so scared that his face turned pale. I don't want to live anymore, but I won't let you die with me. Tang Linglong glanced at him coldly. That murderous aura scared Zhang Haiyang, who originally wanted to fight for the rudder, and he subconsciously took a step back. The family fortune was super fast. While everyone was hesitating and arguing. In about 10 minutes, they were only 200 to 300 meters away from the Japanese patrol ship. For a moment, the Chinese and Japanese ships all noticed the motorized speedboat that appeared out of nowhere. The people on the boats were extremely surprised. Swish! 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 Dozens of searchlights shone on the family fortune together, making it the focus of the entire sea. A Huaxia surveillance ship came from the rear. Everyone saw an electronic screen on the surveillance ship, and big red words were scrolling back and forth. The Diaoyu Islands and its affiliated islands have been Huaxia's territory since ancient times. Please stop your infringing activities. A majestic voice came through the loudspeaker of Huaxia's surveillance ship. Huaxia's ships in front, attention. Huaxia's ships in front, attention. You have entered a sensitive sea area. For your safety and the safety of your ship, to avoid unnecessary disputes, please turn back immediately. Please turn back immediately. Tang Linglong's face showed a hint of mockery. Suddenly, she came out of the cabin door, picked up a gasoline can, and threw it 50 meters ahead of her. Then, she picked up another gasoline can and jumped out. Whoosh! Her body shot out like a whistling arrow and accurately stepped on the gasoline can that was floating on the sea. The gasoline can only sank slightly. As she threw the gasoline can in her hand, she shot out again and stepped on the second gasoline can. Then, she jumped again. Her body was as strong as a dragon as she climbed steadily and landed on the deck of the Japanese patrol ship. What's wrong? Can't think straight and want to commit suicide? A girl complained resentfully. Although there were searchlights, the lights were concentrated on the family fortune, and the other places were dark. Especially from their angle, they couldn't see Tang Linglong's movements clearly and thought that she had committed suicide. What's the point of committing suicide here? You can't be considered a martyr. Someone said viciously. The others had different expressions. Some were regretful, some were shocked, some were puzzled, and some were mocking. Damn, a martial arts expert. However, Zhao Zhao's expression changed drastically, his eyes filled with horror. After all, he was trained and stood at a better angle. He saw how Tang Linglong boarded the ship in that terrifying way. The PLH patrol ship Tang Linglong boarded, Daishan, belonged to the Mizuho class. It carried 2 helicopters, had a long bow and a flat deck structure, and was equipped with an OIC command post to strengthen the information and command function. It has a range of 8,500 nautical miles and a crew of 130 people. The captain, Yamazaki No, graduated from the Maritime Self-Defense Force Cadre School with excellent results. He had 10 years of experience in maritime patrol and had carried out many defense and interception missions in the waters around the Diaoyu Islands. He was familiar with everything. At this moment, he laughed sinisterly and said, "Haha, Chinese pigs, they're all idiots. The government didn't come to fight for the Diaoyu Islands, but they came empty-handed. Do they want to die? Well, let's fulfill their wish. Destroy all their ships." Throughout the history of the Diaoyu Islands disputes, the Japanese side had always maintained the bottom line of strictly prohibiting casualties. Under normal circumstances, they would destroy the fishing boats of the protectors, then fish them out of the sea and control them. They would then negotiate with the Huaxia officials. Otherwise, it would not be as simple as condemnation and protest from the Huaxia side. It might cause serious international disputes. Previously, they had already destroyed a fishing boat of Huaxia. The Daishan released an all-weather lifeboat. More than a dozen frogmen went into the water and fished out more than a dozen Huaxia protectors. Although the crew of the Japanese patrol ship did not dare to kill the Chinese, they could not avoid humiliation. Kneel. On the deck, a Japanese crew member pointed at the captured Huaxia protectors and shouted loudly, "Kneel, my ass! What are you shouting for, you bunch of Japanese?" The two sides had fought many times over the years. The protectors also knew the Japanese's bottom line. They did not dare to kill. After all, it was not the first time that the two sides had caused trouble on the Diaoyu Islands. However, they did not expect that the Japanese crew would not dare to kill them, but they did not feel any pressure to beat and humiliate them. Bakayaro. Kill them. Many of the Japanese crew members swarmed forward and hit them in the face and back with the butts of their guns. After knocking them to the ground, they still did not vent their anger. They kicked them again and again, causing many of the Huaxia protectors to roll on the ground and scream in pain. The Japanese crew members took off their pants and peed on the Huaxia protectors as they beat them up. They even laughed proudly. "We've already taken control of your freedom. Let's see if your country's surveillance ship dares to protect you after being beaten up by us." The sounds of mockery, ridicule, berating, and humiliation were endless. In the eyes of the Japanese crew, these protectors were like lambs to be toyed with. On Huaxia's surveillance ship No. 2038, many law enforcement officers had already seen this scene with their binoculars. They could not help but feel angry. Japanese Marine Patrol ship, this is the Huaxia Marine Surveillance ship. We are cruising in the waters under Huaxia's jurisdiction. Your ship has entered our waters. Your ship must abide by our laws and regulations and immediately release our citizens on board. We solemnly protest and strongly condemn your evil deeds. Instructor Zhang picked up the microphone and shouted in a stern voice. The Chinese broadcast was first, then it was Japanese, and finally it was in English. "Ha, did you see that? It's always solemnly protest and strong condemnation. Can't you change it up a little? Cowardly Huaxia Marine Surveillance ship, you're all cowards. You can't take off the label of the sick man of East Asia. Our ship is right here. If you have the guts, bring the cannon fodder over." The Japanese crew members on the Great Mountain burst into laughter. They ignored the warning and fought even harder. "What should we do? We can't catch up." On Huaxia's surveillance ship number 2038, the law enforcement officers were so angry that their eyes turned red. In fact, they had been trying to approach and stop the Great Mountain together with the other surveillance ships. However, Huaxia's surveillance ship's speed was only 18 knots, while the other party's speed was above 25 knots. It was impossible to catch up and stop them. The other party fearlessly played hide-and-seek in the vast waters, letting them watch as they beat up the Chinese, but there was nothing they could do. "It's impossible to open fire. Shaoli, immediately contact the higher-ups and ask for instructions on what we should do. Also, a Huaxia girl just fell into the sea. Frogman, quickly go down and salvage her. Don't let the Japanese take her away again. Instructor Zhang looked at the situation on the deck of the great mountain with his binoculars and said with a solemn face. Huh? How did she get up there? Isn't she walking right into a trap? At this moment, he let out a cry of surprise. He saw a figure appear on the deck of the great mountain like a ghost. This girl was Tang Linglong. Then, a scene that shocked Instructor Zhang even more happened. As soon as she got on the deck, she rushed toward the Japanese crew members like a gust of wind. As she ran, Tang Linglong suddenly jumped high. Bang! 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 She kicked 6 Japanese people in the chest at lightning speed. Crack! Crack! The crisp sound of bones breaking was heard. Ah! Ouch! Splash! Splash! Screams and sounds of people falling into the water were mixed together. The 6 Japanese people were kicked to death by Tang Linglong and fell into the sea. What? Many of the Japanese crew members were shocked when they saw this. Before they could raise their guns, Tang Linglong's vigorous figure had already rushed into the sky. After the 6 Japanese people who were kicked by Tang Linglong fell into the sea, a large area of the sea was immediately stained with their blood. When the Japanese saw this, they knew that the person who came was definitely not an ordinary person, not even an ordinary soldier. She was a terrifying expert. They immediately panicked and fired at the dark shadow. Bang! 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 Gunshots were heard everywhere. The great mountain was 30 meters tall and had a draft of 9 meters. The distance between the deck and the highest point of the ship was less than 20 meters. With a leap, Tang Linglong reached a height of more than 20 meters. She looked down from above and grabbed 2 handfuls of steel nails from the backpack on her back. Then, as her body spun, she threw them out as if they were free. Although Tang Linglong wanted to kill to vent her anger, she also knew that she was a soldier of Huaxia. Her identity was sensitive and must not be leaked. She could not use the weapons provided by the Huaxia military because it could easily cause a military conflict if she passed the ballistic test. Therefore, she wore a black mask and used a cold weapon. Whoosh! 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 More than 20 steel nails shot out at a speed no slower than bullets. She was already at the early stage of chi refining. How could the Japanese who did not know martial arts dodge her attacks? In an instant, more than 10 people were hit. 5 of them had their foreheads pierced through. They were sent flying a few meters away and died instantly. Some of them even had their heads blown off. Some of them were shot in the heart. They struggled for a while before they died. Some of them were shot in the thighs and arms. All of them dropped their guns and rolled on the ground, screaming in pain. Blood instantly stained the deck red. Fuck. Heroine. She's so cool. She jumped more than 10 meters high. Is she still human? Awesome. I can hold my head up high. We should kill those Japanese and let them know that Huaxia's territory is not that easy to invade. The rescued Chinese looked at Tang Linglong with gratitude and admiration as if they had seen a goddess. Tang Linglong glanced at them and said calmly, "Stop watching the show. Quickly put on your life jackets and jump into the sea. Swim toward Huaxia's surveillance ship." Okay. We'll go now. Take care, heroine. Many Huaxia people quickly jumped into the sea and swam toward Huaxia's surveillance ship. The situation was different now. There was bloodshed. Originally, it was just a bluff to show off their country's prestige. Now, it had turned into a life-and-death battle. They were just ordinary people who did not even know how to shoot. Although they were hot-blooded, they understood that they could not help at all if they stayed. Chapter 397. Baka. This Huaxia woman knows how to use witchcraft. No, she should be a martial artist from Huaxia. She's definitely not an ordinary person. Open fire. Rat-a-tat-tat. All the Japanese crew members on the Great Mountain rushed to the deck and fired at Tang Linglong when they heard the news. Moreover, the other 6 patrol boats did not care about chasing away Huaxia's fishing boats. They closed in on the Great Mountain from all directions and fired at Tang Linglong. Bastards! Tang Linglong slaughtered them like she was chopping vegetables. The pain and frustration in her heart were relieved a lot. She felt extremely happy and satisfied. She pulled out a soft sword from her waist and used the mystifying phantom steps that Jiang Tian taught her. Her slender body refracted on the deck and left behind afterimages. She dodged all the incoming bullets and charged into the crowd of Japanese. At this time, Tang Linglong's eyes were as sharp as a knife. Her face was as cold as ice. Her murderous aura soared to the sky. She used all the Taishian 13 swords. Her attacks were ruthless and decisive. It could be said that she was massacring everyone. Her Taishian 13 swords was incomparably sharp. Like chopping vegetables, the East Asian people were beheaded one after another. Sometimes, she would use the Howren body tempering arts punches and kicks. With each punch and kick, the East Asian people would definitely die. In just a few minutes, Tang Linglong had killed more than 80 people. The deck was already stained with blood. The sea around the Great Mountain was like boiling dumplings. More than 20 bodies floated in the sea. The scene was extremely bloody. Instructor Zhang, I think I heard gunshots. It's not good. They won't kill the Chinese, right? The Marine surveillance officer called Shaoli said with a pale face. After a chase, Marine surveillance ship 2038 was now less than 300 meters away from the Great Mountain. He could clearly hear the gunshots. Then it's serious. Let's open fire. The other Marine surveillance officers also frowned and looked solemn. If the other party started to kill the patriotic citizens of Huaxia, it would be tantamount to breaking the bottom line of Huaxia. A conflict would break out at any time. This was a major event. Who wouldn't be nervous? If he didn't handle it properly, he would be punished, demoted, or even be held criminally responsible. Instructor Zhang's face was pale as he looked at the situation on the deck through his binoculars. Then, his expression became even stranger. He grinned and said in a trembling voice, "It's not them who are slaughtering Huaxia citizens. It's their Japanese surveillance ship that is being slaughtered by Huaxia citizens." What? That's impossible. The Coast Guards were stunned. Instructor Zhang, are you kidding me? The Huaxia citizens who had been captured were all powerless commoners. Furthermore, they had been captured with their bare hands. Instructor Zhang, who was politically sensitive, knew that the situation was serious this time. Dozens of people from the Japanese Maritime Security Agency had already died. This time, it was probably the Japanese's turn to raise a stern protest and strong condemnation. However, this matter definitely did not involve the Huaxia maritime surveillance and the government. In fact, both sides had satellites monitoring this area of the sea. From the beginning to the end, Huaxia's naval surveillance team did not fire a single shot. If you were killed, who could you blame? Instructor Zhang could not give any explanation. Today's incident would definitely be listed as top secret after this. He picked up the microphone and ordered sternly, "Everyone, listen up. From now on, no one is allowed to fire a single shot. All Huaxia surveillance ships are to retreat 15 nautical miles from the Diaoyu Islands. Do not approach the Japanese ships." Fuck you, I actually got shot. Tang Linglong, who was in the middle of the battle, suddenly trembled. She gritted her teeth and cursed angrily. Her shoulder was stained with blood. Although she was already at the chi refinement stage and could block bullets, however, the enemy's 6 patrol ships surrounded the Great Mountain so tightly that not even a drop of water could escape. Hundreds of guns were fired at the same time. Her chi refinement was not at the level where she could withstand continuous shots. However, Tang Linglong had already killed more than 100 crew members on the Great Mountain. She quickly rushed into the cabin, bandaged her wounds, and rushed all the way to the cockpit. How is this possible? Yamazaki Ino had just experienced the most terrifying scene in his life. His face was pale and his legs were trembling. He saw from the surveillance camera that the terrifying woman was pushing her way through. His comrades fell one after another. None of them could withstand a single blow. The scariest thing was that the woman walked as if she was flying. Her body was like a ghost. She was invulnerable and could withstand bullets. She was like Wonder Woman from Marvel Comics. The entire Great Mountain had turned into a living hell. Blood and broken limbs were everywhere. Bakayaro, this must be the legendary ancient martial artist from Huaxia. Yamazaki Ino suddenly understood. His expression changed drastically. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and considered if he should abandon the ship and run away. When he was studying at the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force Cadre School, he had a good relationship with a famous scholar. This professor was a researcher at the Defense Research Institute, the most famous official think tank in Japan. He was directly connected to the higher-ups of the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force and had access to a lot of confidential information. Once, the two of them were drinking in an izakaya. The professor was drunk and told him some little-known truths. It turned out that the ninjas, onmyojis, and kendo masters in Japan were all real. They were not just legends and empty talk. And Huaxia had martial arts figures. According to legend, Huaxia martial artists could fly in the sky and burrow into the ground. They were invulnerable to swords and spears. They could walk on water and hurt people from a distance. When Yamazaki Ino saw this, he immediately connected Tang Linglong with the legendary Huaxia martial artists. Yamazaki Ino had not made a decision yet. After all, abandoning the ship and running away was also a capital offense. He would have to go to court. He was also very hesitant. At this moment, there was a burst of gunshots outside the door. The gunshots only rang out for 5 seconds before it fell into a terrifying silence. Is that Huaxia person dead or? A few of the higher-ups on the ship looked at each other. Their faces were ashen and they were bewildered. Bang! The cabin door, which was made of stainless steel and was 3 centimeters thick, was kicked away from the outside. The cabin door directly smashed 2 crew members into meat paste and broke the glass window of the cockpit. It flew 10 meters away and fell into the sea with the door. Yamazaki Ino, who was so scared that his face was ashen, simply pulled out his pistol and pointed it at the figure that appeared at the door. He pulled the trigger to the end and the bullets poured towards the person as if they were free. He was shocked to see that the woman covered in blood seemed to be blooming with a white light, and all the bullets fell to the ground. Do you want to die? Tang Linglong frowned and raised her hand to shoot out a steel nail. Chi! With a bang, Yamazaki Ino's wrist was nailed to the operating table. He screamed miserably. The other 2 first officers and the like were just about to shoot. Tang Linglong waved her hand and a ball of white light exploded beside the 2 of them. The 2 of them let out a muffled groan and blood spurted out of their 7 orifices at the same time. They fell to the ground on their backs. Devil! She must be a devil. Seeing this scene, Yamazaki Ino was so scared that his soul left his body. He grimaced in pain and his whole body trembled like a sieve. These short 10 minutes were the most painful and terrifying scene that Yamazaki Ino had experienced in his life. He was almost scared out of his wits. He was an iron-blooded soldier who was not afraid of death. He was also an extreme militarist and had a deformed national self-esteem. He had never admitted or accepted the defeat of World War II. He had never agreed with or accepted the growing strength of Huaxia. In his eyes, Huaxia was just a bunch of weak lambs, a nest of insignificant ants. If it wasn't for the United States dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which turned the tide of the war, Huaxia would have long been Japan's territory. What he admired most were the Japanese war criminals of World War II. Every year, he would go to the national shrine to worship the war criminals. Every time, he was full of vigor as if he had gained great courage. He hoped that one day, he could set foot on the land of Huaxia like the martyrs and sages, burning, killing, and looting, and recreating the glory of the Greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere. But now, he had met a transcendent existence like Tang Linglong. He was really afraid. Huaxia martial artists were too terrifying. I'll be in charge of piloting. You're in charge of firing at the other 6 Japanese warships. Tang Linglong shook off the blood on the soft sword. Her cold eyes did not contain a trace of emotion, like an ice goddess. This, I will be executed by the military court. Yamazaki Ino spent a lot of effort to pull out the iron nail. He pinched his blood-stained palm and said pitifully, "If you don't do it, I will execute you right now." Tang Linglong began to skillfully control the Yamaishi. Don't kill me, I'll fire." Yamazaki Ino was so scared that his soul left his body. His whole body trembled as he rushed into the weapon cockpit and operated it. "If I can't hit you, I'll kill you." Tang Linglong wiped the blood on her face, her eyes extremely cold. At this time, on the Japanese patrol ship Aojima, 10 nautical miles away from the Yamaishi, many Japanese were anxiously discussing. "Everyone, how is it? Has that Huaxia woman been killed?" The captain of the ship, Okita Amato, frowned and asked with a grave expression. "She should have been shot, but before she entered the cabin, she had not lost the ability to move." A subordinate reported. "Now that we have lost contact with the Yamaishi, we are worried that the Yamaishi has lost control." Another subordinate's face was grave and ashen. What they encountered today was the biggest setback in their maritime patrol mission in many years, and it was also an unacceptable setback. On Huaxia's side, the maritime surveillance team did not fire a single shot. Just one person, and a woman at that, killed all the crew members of the Yamaishi and took over their warship. If news of this were to spread, it would shock the entire Japanese military and political circle, and there might even be an anti-Chinese protest. It would be regarded as a great humiliation, and they would all be subject to military punishment. At this time, all the officials on the Japanese patrol ship felt their heads swell. Originally, this was a daily maritime patrol activity, and everyone was very relaxed. After driving away Huaxia's fishing ship, they would return to the izakaya, drink a few cups of sake, eat a few skewers of oden, and sleep with a woman in kabukicho. Wouldn't that be great? Who would have thought that such an extreme situation would occur? Hundreds of people died, and a warship was taken away. It was really unexpected. "Everyone, what should we do?" The captain of Aojima Amato looked around with a grave expression, feeling that his heart was about to jump out of his throat. Chapter 398. He could not guess what the enemy's next move was, nor did he know their intentions, so he could not make up his mind. Now that Huaxia had taken over the Taishan, if she opened fire, the other warships would be in trouble. If she did not open fire and just drove the warship away, many military and industrial secrets would be leaked, which would be a huge loss to Japan. But if the Japanese opened fire, they would sink the Taishan. A warship like this was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, which was also a huge loss. "I think that woman won't dare to open fire and drive the warship back to Huaxia. Huaxia has never dared to do this," a subordinate said. "Maybe they won't dare to open fire, but at least they have the courage to drive the warship back to Huaxia's territorial waters," Okita Kyoto said angrily. "Have you forgotten about the collision between Huaxia and the U.S. fighter jet in Huaxia's Hainan in 2001? Huaxia would rather sacrifice a J-8 fighter jet to crash the U.S. Navy fighter jet and force it to stop. Then the U.S. fighter jet was dismembered and studied by Huaxia's military experts. As a result, Huaxia's anti-submarine and anti-reconnaissance technology improved by leaps and bounds, breaking a 10-year technical problem. Don't underestimate Huaxia. If they dare to do this to the U.S., they will dare to do something even more violent to the Japanese. Then we will also force the Taishan to stop. In short, we can't let them drive the Taishan back to Huaxia. A subordinate wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said, "Yes, that's it. Contact the other patrol ships immediately." Okita Kyoto ordered with a frown. But at this moment, suddenly, bang bang bang. A series of dense and muffled sounds of cannons rang out. On the Taishan, two twin 100mm naval cannons suddenly opened fire. The shells connected into a steel line and shot towards Ao Dao. It was too sudden. And Ao Dao was not equipped with close-range defense cannons, only naval cannons and high-pressure water cannons, so it was defenseless. After all, their original mission was to drive fishing boats, and they were not a top-tier warship. She dared to open fire. She must be crazy. Those were Okita Kyoto's last words. The next moment, he was blasted into pieces and died a violent death. The cannons on the Great Mountain fired 120 rounds per minute, instantly riddling the Ao Dao with holes. Ao Island did not sink immediately. The hull was huge and the wound was small. It was a slow process for it to sink completely into the water. However, there were already several large holes in the hull of the ship. The cockpit and the ship's weapons cockpit were all destroyed. There was basically no way for them to fight back. After that, the Great Mountain did not give the remaining 5 Japanese patrol ships any time to react. It immediately opened fire and destroyed another 2 patrol ships in the blink of an eye. This ice beauty is simply too valiant. On the family blessing, many patriots who were fishing for their country were dumbfounded. Before this, they didn't realize that Tang Linglong had boarded the Great Mountain and thought that she had fallen into the water. However, when they heard the concentrated gunshots and looked through their binoculars, they realized how terrifying the ice beauty was. They were momentarily stunned. Then, Tang Linglong took control of the Great Mountain and sank 3 Japanese patrol ships in an instant. They were even more dumbfounded. It's ridiculous that we still want to covet such a miraculous woman. Zhao Xiao shook his head and smiled bitterly. Sigh, she's completely different from us. Mo Gu sighed self-deprecatingly. These fishermen had been bragging all the way, as if they could flatten the East Ocean, subdue the rivers and mountains, and save Mr. Hadu. But when they really met the patrol ships of the East Ocean, they immediately cowered. For example, the fishing protectors on the sunken fishing ships were captured by the frogmen and brought to the Japanese surveillance ships. They were rubbed against each other on the deck, rubbed against each other, and rubbed against each other again and again. What about Tang Linglong? 1 person, 1 sword, and 1 steel nail bag, she killed hundreds of crew members on the Great Mountain. She even stole the Great Mountain and sank 3 Japanese patrol ships. Compared to her feat, Mo Gu felt that their fishing protectors were just playing house. It was not even worth mentioning. Such courage, such skills. TSK. No wonder she doesn't care about us. If I were her, I wouldn't care about us either. Wang Guoqing exclaimed in amazement. He was ashamed of his inferiority. Hao Zi and the other girls were speechless. They were dumbfounded, and there was only respect and shock left on their faces. Fire! All of you, open fire! Sink the Great Mountain! Finally, the other 3 Japanese patrol ships reacted. The Huaxia on the Great Mountain was determined to perish together with the enemy. If they did not attack now, were they going to wait for the enemy to attack them? Moreover, they were not afraid anymore. Even if they wanted to settle the score, the Japanese would not be afraid. After all, the Great Mountain was a Japanese warship. If they attacked their own country's patrol ship, Huaxia would not be able to find fault with them. For a moment, the other 3 patrol ships surrounded the Great Mountain and fired wildly. Torpedoes, cannons, and thousands of cannons were fired at the same time. Neither side had close-range cannons. They were like heavyweight boxers who only attacked and did not defend. It was a competition of who could hit faster and harder, who could take a beating, and who would sink first. The Great Mountain had the upper hand. However, the other 3 Japanese patrol ships had the advantage in numbers. In an instant, the Great Mountain was forced into a passive position. Bang! 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 After being hit by dozens of cannonballs in a row, the Great Mountain's weapon cockpit was shattered. Yamazaki no was also killed. Then, the cockpit was also hit by a cannonball. Tang Linglong was covered in blood and flew out. It's over. That Hua Xia girl is injured. On Hua Xia's surveillance ship 2038, Instructor Zhang stood up abruptly and threw down his binoculars. His expression was grave. What should we do? We can't let the Japanese kill her, right? That's right, Instructor Zhang. No matter what, she's still a descendant of the Yellow Emperor and a patriot. We can't let her bleed and cry, right? That's right. She's so patriotic, but she was buried in the sea and fed to the fishes. We can't just stand by and watch. Many of the maritime police officers looked pained and indignant. They clenched their fists tightly and suggested at the same time. When a general is outside, he won't obey military orders. Instructor Zhang's eyes were filled with tears. His blood was ignited by Tang Linglong's actions. He roared loudly, "All surveillance ships, move forward at full speed and protect the Great Mountain. We can't let this girl die." The higher-ups' orders forbade firing, but there was only one way to protect the girl, that was to use Hua Xia's surveillance ships as meat shields and guards for the Great Mountain. They had to protect the girl and let her get off the ship and board Hua Xia's ship. However, Instructor Zhang also knew that it was very troublesome now. They were now a few nautical miles away from the Japanese patrol ships. Their speed was only about 10 knots. It would take them more than 10 to 20 minutes to reach their destination at full speed. But after a few minutes, Instructor Zhang's expression changed drastically. He frowned and said in disbelief, "The Great Mountain is moving again. It's colliding with the Crimson Stone. What does she want to do?" Tang Linglong was covered in wounds from the explosion. She looked like a bloody gourd. Her right calf was even fractured. She felt dizzy and her ears were ringing. She couldn't hear anything. She had used her protective wind when the cannonball hit. Otherwise, she would have died long ago. "Master, am I going to die?" Tang Linglong felt dizzy. She had lost too much blood and felt extremely weak. Her whole body was burning with pain. "It's really good. It seems that when my body hurts, my heart doesn't hurt so much." Tang Linglong wiped the blood and tears on her face and limped to her feet. She went to the control panel, steered the rudder, and headed toward the nearest Crimson Stone. It quickly crashed over. "Master, I hope I can meet you sooner in the next life." Tang Linglong endured the severe pain. She gritted her teeth and large drops of tears oozed out of her beautiful eyes. Her hands quickly steered the rudder. The speed of the Great Mountain increased steadily and soon reached 25 knots. It moved forward at full speed and rampaged forward. 1 knot was 1 nautical mile per hour. The Great Mountain was now only 3 nautical miles away from the Crimson Stone. It would only take a few minutes for the Great Mountain to collide with the Crimson Stone. She wants to crash into it. Instructor Zhang on the surveillance ship 2038 was also dumbfounded when he saw this scene. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. No, it's too late. The Crimson Stone and other warships are firing continuously. The Great Mountain is about to sink. Someone sighed in a trembling voice. "Hero. Women are not inferior to men. We are really ashamed." Many Coast Guards couldn't stop trembling. They took off their hats and saluted the ship where Tang Linglong was. Their eyes were slightly red, and some even had tears streaming down their faces. "We joined the army to protect our country. We have long put aside life and death. Today's matter will only result in death. In the past, Deng Shichang of the Beiyang Navy was in the middle of the Japanese Sea in the Jiawu Kingdom. Amidst the dazzling clouds, the weather suddenly changed and he single-handedly defeated the entire navy. Later, under the siege of the Japanese warships, his Ziyuan was injured in many places and the hull of the ship tilted. Deng Shichang said to all the officers and men on the ship, "We joined the army to protect our country. We have long put aside life and death. Today's matter will only result in death." He resolutely steered the ship at full speed to crash into the flagship of the Japanese First Guerrilla Fleet, Yoshino. He was determined to perish together with the enemy. The Japanese warship's officers and men were shocked when they saw this. They desperately fled and fired torpedoes at the Ziyuan warship. After Deng Shichang fell into the sea, his followers tried to save him with a lifebuoy, but he refused and said, "I am determined to kill the enemy and serve my country. Today, I will die in the sea. Why would I want to live?" His beloved dog, Taiyang, swam to his side and bit his arm to save him. Deng Shichang swore to live and die with the warship. He resolutely pushed the dog's head into the water and sank into the waves with the rest of the 250 officers and men on the ship. This scene made them think of Deng Shichang's heroic deeds in the past. Many of the Huaxia Coast Guards straightened their backs. Their eyes were filled with shock, respect, admiration, and pain as they looked at the great mountain in the distance. Their posture was perfect. The blood in their chests was completely ignited and boiling. She actually crashed into the warship. Is this ice beauty crazy? At this moment, everyone on the family blessing was dumbfounded as they looked at the scene through their binoculars. She's courting death. Mo Gu sighed. His face was filled with shock and his eyes were red. The great mountain was no longer firing. If they crashed into the warship, wouldn't they be suppressed by the enemy? Not to mention that it was very likely that they would be sunk before they crashed into the warship. Even if they really crashed into the warship, the two warships would be finished together. There was no possibility of survival. Chapter 399. Duan Haiyang puffed out a mouthful of smoke and said solemnly, "She's courting death. Didn't you see that she didn't say a word along the way? I even saw her cry. She must have encountered some obstacle that she can't get over. But this kind of girl is so skilled and beautiful. Judging from her mannerisms, she should be a girl from a wealthy family. What's there to be upset about? What's there to be unhappy about?" Wang Guoqing lamented. Duan Haiyang laughed bitterly and said, "Everyone suffers. Can't get what they want, hate, love, and leave. I think it's most likely that she can't get what she wants. Maybe she was hurt by love. Damn, someone doesn't want such an outstanding girl and even abandons her. Damn, is he human? He should be struck to death by lightning." Zhao Xiao complained angrily. He felt that Tang Linglong couldn't be described as outstanding. She was an extraordinary woman. She was a swordsman who was better than Hong Fu and First Madame Gongsun. She was a heroine who was better than Shi Jianxiao and Qiu Jin. But someone actually rejected her love. This person was really causing trouble. She couldn't tolerate it. Achoo, who the hell is scolding me? Jiang Tian drove his flying sword south. When he was about to reach the Diaoyu Islands, he suddenly sneezed violently. "Master, there seems to be cannons." Have they already started fighting? But why is it East Asians fighting East Asians? Behind him, Li Jinju was very shocked and puzzled. She had already heard the cannons. Moreover, she saw several East Asian patrol ships firing fiercely at a warship that also had a medicinal flag flying. This little girl, is she trying to anger me to death? Jiang Tian's divine sense swept across more than 10 nautical miles and immediately saw everything clearly. He couldn't help but be shocked. He saw numerous ship cannons firing fiercely at the warship that Tang Linglong was on. Tang Linglong was covered in wounds and dripping with blood. However, she still steered the warship towards the Crimson Stone unyieldingly. Her lifeless eyes were filled with tears, and she was still muttering to herself, "Master, in my next life, I hope to meet you sooner. I promise that I will be better than Sister Chinger. You will never fall in love with another woman." Jiang Tian had already vaguely felt that Tang Linglong's feelings for him had already surpassed that of a master-disciple relationship, but he absolutely did not expect that Tang Linglong, this girl, would be so extreme. Just because she misunderstood the relationship between him and Li Jinju, she actually used this kind of suicidal killing to end her life. If he didn't happen to rush over, Tang Linglong would have undoubtedly died. Break. At that moment, Jiang Tian didn't have time to think. With a low shout, he waved his right hand. The black iron flying shuttle shot out from the storage ring and pierced towards the crimson stone with a shrill whistle. The black iron flying shuttle's speed broke the sound barrier, and its pure physical attack was also far superior to that of ordinary missiles. It started from the cockpit of the crimson stone and slanted down to the bottom of the ship, piercing through it. Jiang Tian stepped on his flying sword and shot over like a hurricane. At the same time, he made an incantation gesture. The black iron flying shuttle directly shot toward another patrol ship from the bottom of the sea. Like a torpedo, it pierced through the second warship with a clang. For the maximum speed of Little Black's flying sword, a dozen nautical miles was only a matter of a breath. Jiang Tian quickly came to the sky above this sea area and directly threw out 6 or 7 5-thunder jade talismans as if they were free. Boom! Boom! Ball-shaped lightning seemed to burst out from the cockpits and the weapons cockpits of the 3 Japanese cruisers. The lightning as thick as a thumb danced wildly like silver snakes, smashing all the Japanese crew members and the weapons systems of the information and command system into pieces. At this time, Tang Linglong had not noticed anything unusual. This kind of pure physical attack did not cause any earth-shattering explosions, so the commotion was relatively small. She continued to drive the big hill toward the slightly tilted crimson stone. The 2 patrol ships were only a few meters away from each other. At this time, in the messy cockpit, Tang Linglong, who was covered in blood, let go of the rudder and slid into the seat. She felt very tired, very tired. She had lost an astonishing amount of blood. If it were not for the fact that she was hanging on by one breath, she would have died long ago. She slowly closed her eyes. Her heart was filled with despair but also extremely calm. She murmured weakly, "It's great. I'm finally free. Stupid girl, do you want to die? My, Kang Te-chu's, disciple is not as useless as you." Suddenly, a gentle voice rang out. Tang Linglong tried her best to open her eyes. She saw Jiang Tian, who was dressed in white, standing behind her with his hands behind his back. She could not help but be shocked. "Master, why are you here?" Then, she shook her head and said, "I must be dreaming. People will always have all kinds of hallucinations before they die." She fainted again. Jiang Tian carried Tang Linglong and stepped on the flying sword again. In a flash, they arrived on Hua Xia's surveillance ship number 2038. You are. Zhang Haiyang was dumbfounded when he saw the shocking scene through the binoculars. This young man could actually step on a big sword and shoot through the air. His speed was really comparable to a supersonic fighter jet. Moreover, he could shoot out black shadows and burst out lightning between his fingers. It was simply like a missile or a ball of lightning. Could it be that he was a special department of the country and was using the latest cutting-edge weapons? "Comrade, I need a cabin to treat her." Jiang Tian's expression was very serious. Tang Linglong was seriously injured and could not wait any longer. "Please. We have a doctor on board here. Do you need help?" Zhang Haiyang hurriedly said. Whether it was Jiang Tian or Tang Linglong, he was full of admiration. They were heroes, great heroes. "No, I know medicine." Jiang Tian entered a cabin and quickly laid Tang Linglong flat on a camp bed. He closed the cabin door and began the treatment. Jiang Tian was busy for half an hour and finally cured Tang Linglong. His first thought was to take Tang Linglong and Li Jinju away. Tang Linglong was different from him. Her identity was sensitive. This matter had been blown out of proportion. She would definitely be disciplined. But before he could leave, Yi Zhantian and Tang Hongtu boarded the surveillance ship together. It turned out that there was a video surveillance on the ship. Tang Linglong's identity had been screened by the military's information system. Her identity was exposed. The situation was very serious. Surveillance ship number 2038 began to return. Its destination was a naval base in Ningbo. What awaited Tang Linglong was severe military punishment. When Tang Linglong woke up again, she saw Tang Hongtu standing in front of her bed, his face full of anger. "Uncle!" Tang Linglong was shocked and cried out involuntarily. "You are now the national hero of Huaxia." Tang Hongtu's face was pale and his voice was hoarse. He had not slept for 2 days and 2 nights. The dark circles under his eyes were very serious. "Did I cause trouble?" Tang Linglong asked, a little ashamed. "What do you think?" Tang Hongtu said coldly. "You caused a mess and sunk 6 patrol ships in Japan. More than 500 people were killed or injured. The whole of Japan was shaken, and an unprecedented parade broke out." Tang Linglong propped herself up and leaned against the headboard. She asked in a trembling voice, "Is this serious?" 6 ships, that's not right, I only sank 3 ships. It's more than serious. Do you know how much trouble you have caused the country? Tang Hongtu was too lazy to explain. He pointed at Tang Linglong's nose and shouted angrily. An hour after the incident, the Prime Minister of Japan began a serious negotiation with our country. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs also expressed strong protest and condemnation. They also requested that the culprit be handed over to the Japanese. In addition, we also received secret information that the Japanese Sakura Society announced that they will secretly infiltrate Huaxia and wreak havoc. Blood for blood. You are a soldier. You know that this can be defined as a military operation by the Japanese. Don't you understand the seriousness of this matter? Tang Linglong's face was pale. She already regretted it. At that time, she was in too much pain and impulsive. She only wanted to die, but she did not want to die in vain. She happened to see the family fortune fishing boat and wanted to kill a group of Japanese on the Diaoyu Islands to vent her anger. However, she forgot that she was not an ordinary Huaxia citizen. She was a long-formation warrior, an elite in the Huaxia army. Once this news was exposed, the nature of the matter would completely change. It would change from a civilian operation to an organized and premeditated military operation. It might even cause a war between the 2 countries. She took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Uncle, I know I was wrong. I will bear all the responsibility." "How are you going to bear the responsibility? How are you going to bear the responsibility?" At this time, a cold and solemn voice was heard. A beautiful woman about 27 or 28 years old pushed the door open and entered. When Tang Hongtu saw the woman enter, he was shocked. He cupped his fists and said, "Greetings, Miss Chen. I didn't expect to alarm you." The woman was tall and handsome. Her face was cold and full of dignity. Even when facing a high-ranking military official like Tang Hongtu, she only nodded slightly. Tang Linglong knew that the woman's status was definitely not ordinary. She frowned and asked, "Who are you?" The woman looked arrogant and did not say anything. Tang Hongtu quickly said, "Linglong, don't be rude. This is a member of Huaxia's Condor team. She's a descendant of the Qin family, one of the 7 major families in Beijing, Qin Shuejiao." Condor team. Tang Linglong was stunned. Her heart skipped a beat. Huaxia's Condor team was a very special and mysterious organization. It was a semi-official organization that was established after the new era. Its members were all from the top influential families in Beijing. Most of them held important positions in Huaxia's key departments. Their influence in the secular world of Huaxia even exceeded that of the Huaxiaolong formation. However, they also had an ancient martial arts background. Most of their members were sent to those ancient martial arts sects, and even semi-hidden sects and hidden sects to train and gain experience. The Huaxiaolong formation evolved from the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade during the Republic of China. It had a long history. However, Huaxia's Condor team had the support of the martial arts sects and hidden sections. Although they were very young, their cultivation level was very high. In the past few years, the Condor team had developed rapidly. In terms of overall strength and influence, it had already surpassed the Huaxiaolong formation. It was said that Chao Jianjia had wanted to join the Condor team many years ago. However, her wish was not granted. She had been brooding over it all these years. Yi Zhantian had also sent his daughter, Yi Karen, to the Condor team to gain experience instead of joining the Long formation that he was personally in charge of. It was clear that the Condor team was a high-end organization. It seems that the little girl from the Tang family is quite knowledgeable. She even knows about the Condor team. Chen Shuajiao crossed her arms and raised her chin arrogantly. She snorted coldly and reprimanded, "But you're too ignorant and reckless to make a move against the Japanese. You're simply a retard. You destroyed the Japanese patrol ships by force and launched a military operation without authorization. This has seriously affected Huaxia's diplomatic strategy. Do you think that you can make the people of Huaxia feel grateful to you? Bullshit. Now you've caused a lot of trouble and put the Huaxia officials in a difficult position. Do you know that?" Chapter 400. I've said it before, I'll take responsibility. Tang Linglong's face turned cold as she shouted angrily. Although she knew that she was no match for Chen Shuajiao in terms of power, status, and influence, she could not accept such humiliation. "Idiot, how are you going to take responsibility?" Chen Shuajiao curled her red lips and said disdainfully, "You're a member of Fighting Dragon, an elite in Huaxia's army. Where is the dignity of our country if we hand you over? Where is the dignity of our nation? But if we don't hand you over, how are we going to answer to the Japanese? Can you think of a foolproof plan? Tell me." This, Tang Linglong was stumped by her question. She was tongue-tied and had nothing to say. Her face was tense and solemn. "Miss Chen, Linglong knows that she's wrong. I hope that the Condor team can give her a chance." Tang Hongtu bowed and said with a smile, "She's a patriotic woman after all. She's doing this to protect the dignity of our country and our nation. Officer Tang, you should know that a soldier's first duty is to obey orders from their superiors. She's acting on her own accord and has caused the country to be in a passive position. Is she still worthy of being a soldier? The Tang family is also a military family. How can you teach such a piece of trash?" Chen Shuajiao scolded harshly. She did not even give Tang Hongtu any face. Miss Chen's scolding is reasonable. Tang Hongtu's face was red. He could only agree and apologize. There's only one way now. Chen Shuajiao raised her chin and said proudly, "First, we'll expel Tang Linglong from the military and move the time back to half a year ago. Then, everything on Fishing Island will be her personal and civil actions. Also, the Condor team will send her to Japan and let the Japanese judge her." "What? How can you do this?" Tang Linglong trembled and tears welled up in her eyes. She could not accept this at all. Not only would she be expelled from the military, but she would also be sent to Japan to be judged by the court. She could be imprisoned for life or even sentenced to death. Hearing this, Tang Hongtu frowned and pondered for a long time before asking in a heavy tone, "Chen Shuajiao, is this your personal opinion or the Condor Group's?" "This is the opinion of the 7 major families in Beijing and the Condor team. Of course, I personally think that this is very reasonable. I hope that Zhanlong will fully cooperate with the military," Chen Shuajiao said arrogantly. Tang Hongtu's face stiffened as despair filled his heart. The 7 dominant families of Yanjin were too powerful. They were all top nobles and had the support of martial arts sects and hidden sections. Their strength was far beyond that of Chao Shixiang's family. Their power was too great. They controlled the inside and outside of the Red Wall, the imperial court was high, and the Jianghu was far away. Everything was their power. Their words carried enormous weight. Such a terrifying clan, such a transcendent power, not to mention a small Tang family, even the head of the Tang family wouldn't be able to shake their decision. He sighed deeply in his heart. Looking at Tang Linglong, he said solemnly, "Linglong, you have to be rational. Don't make any unnecessary resistance. Cooperate with the Condor team first. I will definitely protect you." What Condor team? In my opinion, they are just a few sparrows. How dare they decide the fate of my disciple? At this time, an arrogant and cold voice sounded out. Jiang Tian kicked the door open with a bang and walked in with large strides. "Master, I have embarrassed you." Tang Linglong looked at Jiang Tian with mixed feelings. She was grateful, ashamed and frustrated. "No, you have done well." Jiang Tian reached out and patted her head. He smiled gently and said, "You have killed a lot of Japanese and raised the prestige of our country. I am very proud of you. You are Kang Teichu." Chen Shuero looked at Jiang Tian and was slightly shocked. Even though the Condor team was powerful enough to intimidate Huaxia, it was no less powerful than the Huaxiaolong formation. Even though she was the daughter of the Chen family in Yanjin, Kang Teichu's valiant achievements and fame made her very wary. "Since you know it's me, get out of here." Jiang Tian turned around and said coldly, "Bitches are pretentious. Who do you think you are to talk to me?" Jiang Tian noticed that Qin Shuejiao had also reached the initial transcendent state as soon as he entered the room. To be able to reach the realm of martial Dao Grandmaster before the age of 30 was already amazing in the eyes of others. But in Jiang Tian's eyes, she was nothing. "Kang Teichu, don't think that you are so great just because you are the most powerful Grandmaster in Huaxia. Do you know that there are at least 80 people in the Yin sect who are as powerful as you? Huaxia is not a place for you to be so arrogant." Qin Shuejiao's face turned red when she heard Qin Fan say, "Bitches are pretentious." Her chest heaved as she shouted angrily. The Qin family was very influential in the political and business world. They controlled the Ministry of Foreign Trade and the Energy and Mineral Department and had the support of the Yin sect. They were very powerful. They had secret collaborations with many Japanese tycoons and families and were very imaginative in the international arena. This made the arrogant and domineering Qin Shuejiao act like everyone has to listen to me, no matter who she was facing. Most importantly, although Jiang Tian was rumored to be a god in the underworld, Qin Shuejiao found that Jiang Tian did not have the powerful aura of a cultivator when she saw Jiang Tian. She could not help but wonder if these rumors were true. "Bitch, I will show you how arrogant I am this time." Jiang Tian's eyes turned cold. He raised his hand and swatted it down as if he was swatting a fly. He snorted and said, "Bitch, kneel down and talk to me." Boom. Boom. Qin Shuejiao felt a violent and irresistible pressure. It was as if tens of thousands of mountains were pressing down on her together. Her cultivation could not withstand such pressure at all. The bones in her body creaked as if they were about to break. Her body sank and her knees bent uncontrollably. She knelt on the ground. "Kang Teichu, let go of me. I am a member of the Condor team. I am a disciple of Wu Dang's sect. I am the daughter of the Qin family of Yanjin. How dare you touch me?" Qin Shuejiao struggled and tried her best to exert her transcendent stage cultivation but to no avail. "So what if you are from the Condor team? So what if you are from Wu Dang's sect? What bullshit is the Qin family? They are nothing in my eyes. How dare you use them as your trump card?" As Jiang Tian's hand pressed down, she was still lying on the ground like a toad despite the humiliation and resentment on her face. "This. Master Kong. Tang Hongtu was once again at a loss for words. He could not believe what he had just seen. Even in the eyes of Tang Hongtu, the Condor team was not to be trifled with because they had the support of the sects and even the Yin sects. The Qin family of Yan Jin was even more influential in Huaxia. Chao Shixiang's family and the Tang family of Lin Zhou City were too far away from them. Jiang Tian's performance had shocked him. It was the first time he had seen such a domineering person. Jiang Tian truly did things his own way, running amok without fear. It was as if wherever he went, it was his territory. Wherever he went, everything there would belong to him. Everything had to submit to him, and he had to listen to his orders. With such an overbearing overlord, no matter where he went, he would be the king of the world. To Tang Hongtu, Qin Shuejiao was like a princess. She was superior and could not be disrespected or offended. However, with Jiang Tian, everything had changed. The daughter of the Qin family, who used to be a member of the Condor team, was forced to kneel on the ground by Jiang Tian. Whether it was the Condor team, the Qin family of Yan Jin, or even the semi-hidden Wu Dang sect, they were just ants in Jiang Tian's eyes. So what if I hit you? Is the Condor team that powerful? What's so great about Wu Dang sect and the Yin sects? Jiang Tian snorted arrogantly. Where were you when Lin Zhenyu and Xiaobin took down Huaxia? In the end, he still chose to be a coward. I was the one who led Zhang Long to fight with them. Do you think you are worthy of being a big shot in front of me? Master Kong, she is just a junior. Please let her go. Yi Zhantian heard Qin Shuejiao's scream and hurried over. He was shocked and quickly tried to persuade Qin Shuejiao. He did not expect that Jiang Tian would still be so domineering even after he had told Qin Shuejiao everything. Fine, brother Yi, I will give you face and spare her life. But don't do it again. Jiang Tian snorted and retracted his hand. Qin Shuejiao struggled to get up. She was panting heavily, but she still glared at Jiang Tian with hatred. Jiang Tian said lightly, "Don't glare at me. This has nothing to do with my disciple. I will take full responsibility." How do you want to take responsibility? Qin Shuejiao sneered. I will go to Japan with you. I would like to see how the Japanese will judge me. As long as they have the ability to kill me, even if they use heavy weapons, it will be their ability. Jiang Tian's expression did not change as he said indifferently. Very well, Boss Yi, Officer Tang, as you can see, Master Kong is willing to go. Qin Shuejiao was neither servile nor overbearing even in front of Yi Zhantian. She was not intimidated by Jiang Tian's words. Moreover, this matter involves an international dispute. You should understand the seriousness of the matter. I advise the Dragon Group not to interfere. As the elites of the army, the Dragon Group must obey the orders of their superiors and must not interfere. Tang Hongtu furrowed his brows. He knew the gravity of the situation. The Qin family of Yan Jin controlled the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Economic Cooperation and monopolized the import of many electronic and automobile brands in Japan. They were deeply involved with the Japanese business community. Tang Linglong's action had shaken the entire Japanese. The political circle and the tycoons protested. It had seriously affected the Qin family's interests. Therefore, the Qin family had to find a scapegoat to answer to the Japanese. Qin Shuejiao wasn't exaggerating at all. The opinions of the 7 major families in Yan Jin were like an imperial edict. Not even Chao Shixiang dared to defy them. As for the Long formation, if they wanted to stand up for Jiang Tian, they had to consider the ancient Wudang sect behind the Qin family. Master, you can't do this. Tang Linglong was taken aback. She said anxiously, there are members of the Cherry Blossom Society in Japan. They might even use large-scale firearms. If you go in alone, they will kill you. Master Kong, you must be careful. Yi Zhantian warned anxiously. There are several immortal state warriors in the Cherry Blossom Society. These immortal state warriors are as powerful as the top elites on the Dark Roll. It is reckless for you to go in alone. Chapter 401. Don't worry, Brother Yi. These Japanese cherry blossoms are just a bunch of weaklings. I can kill them easily. Jiang Tian smiled at Yi Zhantian to express his gratitude. If Jiang Tian had not cultivated the gunmetal divine body, even if he was at the 5th level of qi refining stage, he would still have to be careful when facing an immortal state cultivator. But now that he had cultivated the gunmetal divine body, Jiang Tian was not afraid at all. He was determined to win. But Yi Zhantian's reminder was out of goodwill. A trace of pleasure flashed in the depths of Chen Shuajiao's eyes when she saw this. Jiang Taichu, oh, Jiang Taichu, you're really too arrogant. Do you know what the Japanese will do to you? You have a death wish. Yi Zhantian could only sigh. Jiang Tian was the future hope of Huaxia's martial arts community. He even had the idea of letting Jiang Tian inherit the long formation dragon head. If Jiang Tian were to fall, it would be the greatest loss to Huaxia's martial arts community. Yi Zhantian was not very fond of the Yin sect. The Yin sect members were very strong, but they only focused on cultivation and did not care about worldly affairs. No matter how powerful or transcendent such a master was, what good would it do for Huaxia? Rely on them to defend against foreign invaders? What a joke. You go out first. I have a few words to say to Mr. Yi. Jiang Tian glanced at Chen Shuajiao. Chen Shuajiao hesitated and did not leave immediately. She wondered if this kid would take the opportunity to escape. Get out. Seeing this, Jiang Tian glanced at her and scolded coldly, Are you afraid that I will run away? What a joke. I, Kang Taichu, have never been afraid of a fight in my life. Do you think I am a member of the Yin sect? Yi Zhantian smiled warmly and said, Shuajiao, don't worry. Master Kang has always been a man of his word. All right, Boss Yi, you have to be responsible for your words. Chen Shuajiao was so angry that the roots of her teeth itched. She wanted nothing more than to chop Jiang Tian into pieces and eat his meat. However, she could only walk out. Jiang Tian then looked at Tang Hongtu and Tang Linglong and said, Linglong, you two go out first. Yes, master. Tang Linglong and Tang Hongtu left together. When Tang Linglong went out, she realized that she was now at a naval training base in Ninghai City. It was heavily guarded outside, and many soldiers were armed with live ammunition. Obviously, she was being held as the person in charge. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, Brother Yi, you haven't finished talking about the sects and the hidden sects. The sects are easy to understand. Yi Zhantian smiled and said, In today's Huaxia, there are many sects such as Ancient Kunlun, Ancient Wudang, Ancient Diansong, Ancient Shu Mountain Sword Sect, and many others. They live in seclusion in the mountains and ponds. They don't care about worldly affairs and focus on cultivation. They have hundreds or even thousands of years of history. Some of them even started in the pre-Qin dynasty. They have a strong foundation, and in terms of cultivation techniques, cultivation resources, and talents, they are far superior to any martial arts family that we know of. This is also the reason why the Condor team rose to prominence. Their members are all disciples of secular families who have been trained by these sections. Jiang Tian interrupted and said, Do they have immortal state cultivators? Yes. Yi Zhantian sighed and said, Take ancient Wudang for example. It is said that there are 5 or 6 immortal state elders in charge. They are all over 100 years old. Some of them are even old monsters who have lived since the Qing dynasty. They are living fossils. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. In the long formation, Yi Zhantian was the only one who was half a step away from immortal state. Ancient Wudang alone had 5 or 6 immortal state elders. It could be said that if the long formation did not have the secret support of the country and the military, the long formation might not even be as powerful as ancient Wudang. As for the hidden sects, they are also divided into semi-hidden sects and fully hidden sections. Yi Zhantian said. Most of the sects that we have talked about before are semi-hidden sections. After all, we know their names and their approximate locations. As for the fully hidden sects, we don't even know where they are. They are known as the unknown place. The Long Formation is a huge intelligence agency with the support of the military. But we still don't know where they are. Jiang Tian was slightly shocked. Huaxia is a vast land and there are many extraordinary people. There are only a few people in the Long Formation. How can they know the whole of Huaxia like the back of their hand? Yi Zhantian smiled bitterly and shook his head. These hidden sects have strict rules and it is not easy for their disciples to come out. Some people can't even leave the hidden sects for the rest of their lives. In addition, even if they are allowed to come out, they will not reveal the location of the hidden sects even if their lives are threatened. Secondly, the secret sect is usually protected by concealment defensive formations. These formations may have been left behind by ancient cultivators or they may have been set up by them themselves. However, based on the strength of an ordinary martial arts master, it is impossible to detect their existence. You should have read Tao Yuanming's Peach Blossom Spring. In fact, the Peach Blossom Spring that the people of Wuling entered during the Eastern Jin dynasty should be a hidden sect. To be exact, it is a small world isolated by an array, a small space parallel to our world. Jiang Tian's heart raced and his hands trembled slightly. He was not afraid, but excited. If small worlds and small spaces really existed, then there might be many ancient inheritances in them, and there might be a lot of cultivation resources. Materials, companions, methods, and places were the four essentials of cultivation. Cultivation materials and resources were the most important, even more important than cultivation methods and immortal abodes. As the saying goes, even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice. No matter how powerful you are, you can't do anything without cultivation resources. Originally, Jiang Tian thought that the earth was already in a dharma-ending age where spiritual qi was exhausted and cultivation resources were scarce. But now, for the first time, Jiang Tian realized that the world was so vast. Seeing Jiang Tian's expression change, Yi Zhantian looked at Jiang Tian meaningfully and said, "With your level and knowledge, you should have heard of the existence of the ruins of immortality." You know about the ruins of immortality? It seems that the rumors I heard are true. Jiang Tian asked. Yes. In the legends of the cultivation world, the ruins of immortality is the largest hidden sect world. It is said that it is a space isolated by ancient cultivators or qi cultivators of the pre-Qin dynasty. Yi Zhantian said with a serious face. It is said that every 100 years or so, the ruins of immortality will open. Cultivators from our world can enter, and people from the ruins of immortality can also come to our world to find disciples and successors. There is another rumor. At that time, many immortal state masters went into hiding not because they were afraid of nuclear weapons, but because they used a secret method to stop their blood and lifespan, to completely hibernate until the door to the ruins of immortality opens. There is also a group of people who are pessimistic about the opening of the ruins of immortality. They formed an organization to guard the secular world. What organization? Jiang Tian asked. Hongmeng. Yi Zhantian sighed and said, "In fact, my father, Yi Tianren, is one of the members. But where they are hiding, I don't know." It turned out that Yi Tianren was still alive. Jiang Tian's heart skipped a beat. He then asked, "Mr. Yi, do you know anyone from the hidden sect? What is the attitude of the Long Formation and the martial arts world towards the hidden sect?" The real hidden sect and the ruins of immortality are not so easy to find. The Long Formation has a history of almost 100 years, but it has never touched the edge of the hidden sect. Yi Zhantian sighed and said, "What we really need to consider is the semi-hidden sections. The current policy of Huaxia is not to interfere, support, or attack the semi-hidden sections. They live in seclusion in the mountains and swamps. Generally speaking, they will not commit crimes. Even if they do commit crimes, the long formation won't be able to detect it, right? Jiang Tian smiled slightly and said with a slight sneer. An immortal state master could speak the truth and kill people unknowingly. The long formation could not deal with him. In the final analysis, the long formation could only suppress the masters under the immortal state in the martial arts families closely connected with the secular world. For the semi-hidden sects or the real hidden sect, the long formation was just a decoration. Brother Jiang Tian, can your mouth be any sharper? Yi Zhantian shook his head helplessly and said, but what you said is also true. The long formation can't do anything to an immortal state master. But at least they don't do things on a large scale and invade the secular world. As for the fights between the semi-hidden sects, they are usually in the mountains and swamps. Even if they fight to the death, it won't affect the secular world. The higher-ups of the government and the dragon group will turn a blind eye to it. Now the officials have drawn out some areas for them to prohibit the secular world from entering. You often see some tourist-prohibited areas in some scenic spots. It is very likely that some semi-hidden sects are located there. Then he asked Yi Zhantian for more information about the hidden sect. Jiang Tian smiled and said, the sects such as the ancient Wudang sect have now joined forces with the secular aristocratic families to form the Condor group. Aren't you worried about the long formation that these semi-hidden sects will completely control the secular world? At least for now, there is no need to worry. Yi Zhantian said, the original intention of the Condor group was to protect Huaxia and resist the invasion of the world's masters. Besides, they now have the support of the 7 major families in Yanjin. Why should I go against them and look for trouble? Jiang Tian nodded and said, okay, Mr. Yi. Let's stop here. I should go to Japan to receive my punishment. Brother Jiang, please wait. Yi Zhantian grabbed Jiang Tian's hand and sighed with reddened eyes. Actually, I and the entire long formation admire and support what you have done. But you are too humble. Some forces can't be shaken and some decisions can't be influenced. I am ashamed to say that the Long Formation and its predecessor the Long Formation, the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, have been good at defending but not aggressive enough. They have only killed and driven away those troublemakers in Huaxia. They have never stepped out of the country. Perhaps in Yi Zhantian's heart, this might be the final farewell between him and Jiang Tian. He said all the words hidden in his heart in one breath. But you, in the Battle of Hassa Island in Xing Continent, in the Battle of Tanjun's Daoist Palace, you stepped out of the country, brazenly brandished your sword, and showed off the might of our country. You did what the dragon group wanted to do but didn't dare to do, wanted to do but couldn't do. In my heart, and in the hearts of all the members of the Long Formation, you are a well-deserved hero, a great hero. Chapter 402. Jiang Tian thought to himself. Old Yi, you think too highly of me. What kind of hero am I? I don't have such a high level of self-awareness. To put it bluntly, they were the ones who provoked me, so I went to avenge them. Otherwise, I would have killed them for their treasures. As for controlling the Huaxia faction and Tanjun's faction, I didn't even think about it before I took action. That was what he thought, but he couldn't say it out loud. Jiang Tian smiled and said, Brother Yi, you are flattering me. Besides, I understand that you represent the martial arts community of Huaxia and have a military background. There are a lot of things that you can't do. I know that you came to Japan not because you want to surrender, but because you want to defeat all the Japanese elites. Yi Zhantian said seriously. But you have to understand that this battle is going to be very dangerous. If you can't beat them, run away immediately. Revenge is a dish best served cold. When you reach the immortal state, or even beyond that, we will deal with them. Jiang Tian saw the redness in Yi Zhantian's eyes. He patted him on the shoulder and said, Brother Yi, don't worry. Prepare some good wine. When I come back, let's celebrate. With that, he walked out of the door. Outside the door was a spacious living room. A few young men with extraordinary bearings and vast auras stood there with solemn expressions on their faces. They were all members of the Condor team. Most of them were members of the Red Wall and came from the top 7 families of Yanjin. Moreover, they were often supported and nurtured by their respective sections. Most of them were above the transcendent state in terms of martial arts cultivation. They could be said to be the most outstanding group of young talents in China. Grandmaster Jiang, have you finished saying your last words? Chen Shuaijiao crossed her arms and sneered disdainfully. Are you looking for a beating? If you keep showing off, I will strip you naked and throw you on the street. Jiang Tian glared at Chen Shuaijiao. Chen Shuaijiao's face turned pale and she took a step back. After that, Jiang Tian ignored him and waved his hand indifferently. Let's go. Let's board the plane and head straight to Japan. Master. Tang Linglong limped forward and threw herself into Jiang Tian's arms. She hugged Jiang Tian tightly and wailed with tears in her eyes, I'm unfilial. I'm guilty. I'm sorry that I've harmed you this time. It's fine. I'm going to Japan for a vacation. What's there to be sad about? With a gentle smile, Jiang Tian patted her shoulder and swept his sharp gaze across the crowd. My disciple only killed a few Japanese devils. What crime did she commit? You can rest assured. Whoever dares to bully you, whoever dares to touch a single strand of your hair, when master returns, I will chop them into pieces. When the experts of the Condor team met Jiang Tian's sharp gaze and felt the terrifying pressure emanating from Jiang Tian, they subconsciously took a step back. Their eyes were filled with fear, and their hearts were filled with unease. Master Kong, you must be joking. We admire Tang Linglong very much. We all know that Tang Linglong's actions are out of patriotism. However, her actions have seriously affected the relationship between Japan and our country. We have to give her an explanation. The young man in the lead took a step forward and bowed with cupped fists. His expression was humble and respectful, but a trace of jealousy that was difficult to notice flashed in the depths of his eyes. His name was Qin Zongheng, the young master of the Qin family in Yanjin. He was a Diansang sword cultivator and had already reached the initial transcendent state. Before Jiang Tian's rise, he had been regarded as the top cultivation genius in Huaxia. Recently, Yi Zhantian had even ranked him as the 20th on the divine roll. He'd always been extremely conceited and complacent, but since Jiang Tian swept through and rose up in a domineering manner, his radiance was instantly covered by Jiang Tian, and it was like a grain of rice that couldn't compete for brilliance with the bright moon, dimming in comparison. How could he not be jealous? That's right. I'm going to Japan this time to give you an explanation and give them an explanation. Jiang Tian cracked a smile and said. He didn't like the Condor team at all. The Condor team was a group of top elites in Huaxia. They claimed that they were responsible for reviving Huaxia and protecting the country. They even had the potential to crush the Long Formation and replace it. But in fact, these slogans, these bold words, were all shouted for others to see. They were good at scheming against each other, doing business, and playing politics, but how many of them had ever fought on the front lines? How many of them had bled or been injured? How could they be as brave as Huaxia's dragon group, risking their lives to kill the enemy? After all, they hadn't been tempered by war. They relied on the protection of their ancestors and enjoyed the fruits of others' labor. They didn't have much courage. They only thought about building a good relationship with the international overlords and winning economic benefits for their families or themselves. Just like how Tang Linglong killed a few Japanese soldiers, they were eager to show their goodwill to Japan and give them an explanation. They were like traitors who had betrayed their country. Where was their backbone? Where was their courage? Even though they had the support of their sects or even semi-hidden sects, even though they had many transcendent state grandmasters among them, they were nothing in Jiang Tian's eyes. Grandmaster Jiang is truly lofty and lofty, swallowing 10,000 li like a tiger. Master Kong had been to Singapore and had become the Grand Preceptor of Singapore. He had taken control of the Tan family and abolished the Koryo Medical College. He had shown the might of our country. Qin Zonghan cracked a smile and said, "If Master Kong sets foot in Japan, I think he will be able to return to his country safely." How could the Japanese overlord stand a chance against Master Kong? Although his words were praising Jiang Tian, the corners of his eyes were filled with ridicule. In his eyes, so what if Jiang Tian was an immortal state warrior? So what if he had killed Xiao Bin? The Japanese Cherry Blossom Society was one of the top organizations in the world. It was not something that the Chinese Club of Star State and the Russian Winter Soldiers could compare with. Xiao Bin had only reached the half-step immortal state after 20 years of hard work. Wang Chongyan had not even reached the half-step immortal state yet. He had only cultivated both Dharma spells and martial arts and was as powerful as a half-step immortal state warrior. The Japanese Cherry Blossom Society was guarded by several immortal state warriors. Jiang Tian's body was made of iron, how many nails could he crush? If he set foot in Japan this time, he would be crushed by the Cherry Blossom Society. Qin Zonghan thought gloatingly. This was also good. The Condor team's young Master Bai was planning to take over the Dragon team. If Jiang Tian died, it would be equivalent to one less strong competitor. You want me to come back safely? Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "Ha, is that all you can do? Aren't you underestimating me too much? Aren't you overestimating this Japanese scum? If I go to Japan, I will destroy the Cherry Blossom Society with a swing of my sword." The young overlords of the Condor team looked at Jiang Tian speechlessly. How arrogant! Disdainful and insufferably arrogant. Didn't he know how terrifying the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society was? The corners of Qin Zonghan's eyes twitched a few times when he was scolded by Jiang Tian as a good-for-nothing. However, he suppressed the anger in his heart and forced a smile. "Ha, good, good. This time, I'll accompany Master Jiang to Japan. I'll also witness Master Jiang's monstrous cultivation and great achievements." Jiang Tian ignored him. He put his hands behind his back and walked out of the barracks. He boarded a helicopter with Qin Zonghan, Qin Shuejiao, and a few other martial arts experts. "Master, I am afraid that I will never be able to repay your kindness." Tears streamed down Tang Linglong's cheeks as she watched the helicopter take off. She was full of regret. Her master had to take the blame for her impulsive actions. "Don't worry, your master will be fine." Li Jinju handed her a tissue and comforted her gently. "You. Go away. Shameless witch. How dare you seduce my master? I hate you." Tang Linglong looked at her. Her heart was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. She pushed the tissue away and shouted. She had been jealous of Zhao Xueqing before, but it was not as intense as now. After all, she knew that Zhao Xueqing was her master's first wife. Before her master rose to power, she had never left him. Later, Zhao Xueqing embarked on the path of cultivation and became a supreme beauty. She did not even have the right to be jealous. However, it was different for Li Jinju. She was jealous. She was jealous that Li Jinju could win Jiang Tian's favor. She was jealous of her position in Jiang Tian's heart. She was jealous that she could be naked with Jiang Tian. She was jealous that she could help her master's career in South Korea. She was jealous. She was jealous of Li Jinju's beautiful appearance and noble status. She was the goddess of South Korea and the #1 beauty. She was also the princess of the Li family and the palace master of the Tanjun Daoist Palace. She could not compare to them. She hated. She hated everything. She hated everything in the world. She hated fate's tricks and arrangements. She loved her master more than Li Jinju. Why did Jiang Tian treat her master 10,000 times better than her? He might even slap himself in order to protect Li Jinju. Humph, stupid girl, I'm comforting you. Why are you so rude to me? If it weren't for you, would my master be in danger in Japan alone? You are a jinx. Li Jinju wanted to comfort Tang Linglong. She even wanted to tell her the truth about Jiang Tian helping her to refine the blood pill that day. However, she did not expect her to be so ungrateful and even insulted her. She was angry and immediately retorted. She crossed her arms and said sarcastically, "Am I a witch? My master likes me to be gentle and sensible. He likes me to be young and beautiful. Unlike you, a simple-minded and violent girl. Even if you wait 10,000 years, my master will not like you. You're talking nonsense. If you have the guts, fight with me." Tang Linglong was so angry that she was trembling. She suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and supported herself against the wall. Li Jinju was shocked when she saw Tang Linglong vomiting blood. Before her master left, he said that he would chop anyone who dared to hurt Tang Linglong into pieces. If her master knew about this, he would not let her off. She took a step back and rolled her eyes. "I'm not going to fight with you. I'm going to Japan to help my master." She boarded an off-road vehicle and sped away. Chapter 403. Li Jinju, don't go. Fight me if you have the guts. Tang Linglong shouted as she chased after the off-road vehicle. "Linglong, haven't you caused enough trouble?" Seeing this, Tang Hongtu felt a headache coming on. He scolded angrily, "Grandmaster Jiang is in danger alone. When the time comes, he will have to face dozens of top Japanese experts. Do you still want to cause trouble and disturb his condition?" "Wah! Master!" Tang Linglong was stunned for a moment. Then she squatted on the ground and burst into tears like a helpless child. "It's good to be young." Yi Zhantian saw this and shook his head. He couldn't help but laugh. Beauty's favor was the hardest thing to bear. A beauty's love was long, but a hero's pride was short. Jiang Tian must have had a headache facing so many admirers. On a cruise ship, the Great East Asia, parked near Jeju Island. In a luxurious private room, the furnishings were elegant and the lights were bright. Ishii Yuren sat at the head of the table and listened to the reports of his subordinates. Our men have been hiding around the Tanjun Daoist Palace to keep an eye on Kang Tae-chu. However, 2 days ago, he suddenly disappeared. This subordinate was also an elite of the Yamaguchi-gumi. He was a jounin and was as powerful as a transcendent grandmaster or ethereal enlightenment cultivator in Huaxia. His ability to sense aura was amazing and he was especially good at tracking, hiding, and assassination. Back then, he had successfully assassinated a drug lord who was competing with the Japanese Sakura Society in the drug market in Detroit, United States, under the protection of dozens of top bodyguards. He had escaped unscathed, and those bodyguards did not even see his shadow. But now, his face was pale and covered in cold sweat. He trembled as he reported, fearing that Ishii Yuren would kill him with one strike. After hearing the report, Ishii Yuren's face was so cold that a layer of frost could be scraped off. His eyes were filled with anger. "Useless. You can't even do this well. Get out of here and break 3 of your fingers as punishment." "Forget it, Mrs. Ishii. He's monitoring Kang Tae-chu. It's too easy for a deity realm expert like him to hide his tracks." Hattori Hanzo advised with a bitter smile. He was a god-level ninja, and his cultivation was comparable to that of the immortal state, but there was still some distance between him and the real immortal state. Even he had more than a dozen methods to evade surveillance and conceal himself. This Kang Tae-chu, whose name had shaken Huaxia, was probably not far behind. Alas, ever since Kang Tae-chu took down Lord Tan's faction, everything has gone wrong. Ishii Imperial Lotus sighed and waved his hand to signal his subordinates to retreat. Our Yamaguchi-gumi is a patriotic organization. In 2008, we successfully obstructed the Olympic torch relay in Japan. Every year, during the Diaoyu Islands dispute, we will also ruthlessly attack those reckless fishermen from China. She said in a deep voice with a furious expression. But this time, before our ships could even make a move, the Great Mountain and a few other Japanese patrol ships were sunk by the enemy. More importantly, we have lost Kang Taechu's whereabouts. It's really a pity. So what should we do now? Nagaki Miyamoto said bitterly. The assassination attempt on Kang Taechu failed, and the fishermen did not arrive in time. If Lord Anpei knows about this, I'm afraid he will be very disappointed in us. Can you blame us for this? Hattori Hanzo smiled disdainfully and said, Kang Taechu is too cunning. I'm afraid he is afraid of us Japanese overlords, so he ran back to Huaxia. I think Master Anpei Jipping will also understand after he understands the situation. Did he run away? Kang Taechu is known as the only immortal state overlord in Huaxia. He may even be able to suppress Yi Zhantian. He is very strong, but compared to us Japanese overlords, he is still too weak. Ishii Imperial Lotus picked up the teacup and took a sip. She sneered disdainfully. She was not exaggerating. In recent history, Japan had repeatedly violated Huaxia and committed heinous crimes. They had always been suppressing Huaxia, and the two countries could be said to have a blood feud. Similarly, the martial arts world of the two countries had many conflicts. There were many bloody incidents, and they were called old enemies. In the late Qing dynasty, Sasaki Koshiro, the sword sage of Japan, once traveled across the ocean to Huaxia and challenged many Wu Dao grandmasters. He was invincible all the way. In the end, he forced the immortal state master who accompanied the Empress Dowager in the Forbidden City to intervene. However, the immortal state overlord still lost to Sasaki Koshiro. This battle was also known as the pinnacle of the 19th century. In the early years of the Republic of China, the Japanese Grand Onmyoji, Anpei Star Map, traveled to Huaxia and challenged many Taoist masters in Huaxia. With the art of yin-yang, he defeated the sect master of the Maoshan sect and killed Master Lei of the Celestial Master sect. It was said that many semi-hidden sects perfected cultivators had intervened, but they could not do anything to him. During the anti-Japanese war, the former sword sage of Japan, the sword god of Japan, and the top master of the Cherry Blossom Society, Miyamoto Genichi, once challenged many masters of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade on the 800-mile Chin Creek. He killed 3 martial arts grandmasters and a half-step immortal state overlord. Yan'an was in a state of emergency, and in the end, even Yi Tianren, the great ancestor of China, intervened. Although Huaxia was founded and the two countries had established diplomatic relations, the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society was still active in Huaxia, causing friction with the Huaxia martial arts community. However, even the long formation could not wipe them out. It could be said that for more than a century, the Japanese overlords rarely lost to the overlords of Huaxia. This made many overlords of Japan look down on Huaxia, thinking that Huaxia was invincible. In their view, no matter how powerful Kang Taechu was, he was just an immortal state overlord, or half-step immortal state overlord. In Japan, there were more than a dozen immortal-level ninjas and kendo master Fan Ru who were comparable to an immortal state warrior. There were also Shikigami who were far more powerful than an immortal state warrior. How could he not run away? The people of Huaxia are cowards, like a flock of sheep. They always like to run away. Hearing this, Nagaki Miyamoto gradually pulled himself together. He curled his lips, revealing deep wrinkles, and snorted disdainfully. They are good at guerrilla warfare, which is running away. The military operation known as the Long March was also a great escape that involved throwing away their helmets and armor. They just call it that to make it sound good. It seems that Kang Taechu is no different from those ugly Huaxia people. Yeah, I really overestimated him. Hattori Hanzo smiled contemptuously and nodded. But if you think about it carefully, no one from Huaxia has dared to challenge Japan in the past 100 years. His choice is understandable. He frowned and pondered. In fact, I even think that he is only half-step immortal state overlord, only slightly stronger than Xiao Bin of the Russian Winter Soldiers. I have never seen an immortal state overlord before the age of 30. Transcendent state overlords are rare. Maybe he used some secret method to disguise himself as an immortal state overlord. But if he doesn't come, we will lose a chance to show our strength. Ishii Yulian sighed regretfully. But at that moment, her satellite phone rang. She picked it up and said a few words. Her expression changed abruptly, and her jade-white hands trembled slightly. Ishii, what's wrong? Seeing that she hung up, Hattori Hanzo frowned and asked. The Great Mountain incident was caused by Kang Taechu. As soon as Ishii Yulian said this, everyone was shocked, but they also had a feeling of, I see. Yes, he had the guts to destroy several patrol ships and kill hundreds of people on the Senkaku Islands. How many people were there in Huaxia? Kang Taechu was probably the only one. Besides, after the mediation of Huaxia's Condor team, Kang Taechu was sent to Japan as a war criminal to be judged by the Japanese government. Ishii Yulian said with a complicated expression. Idiot, the Condor team is too cunning. Sending Kang Taechu here. This is a hot potato. For a moment, many Japanese overlords were cursing. After the Great Mountain incident, the Japanese upper-class society, especially the military and political circles, were in an uproar and demanded an explanation from the Huaxia government. The Qin family of Yan Jin was threatened and intimidated by many Japanese partners. Many Japanese consortiums said that they would terminate their cooperation with the Qin family. The Qin family immediately said that they would give Japan an explanation. And now, the explanation was here. However, an immortal state warrior was no ordinary person. He was as powerful as a nuclear bomb. If they didn't kill him, it would damage the country's prestige. Killing him was extremely difficult and dangerous. If this wasn't a hot potato, then what was? If this wasn't a trap, then what was? Are you afraid? Ishii Yulian smiled like a female Zhuge Liang who was confident of victory. He smiled and said, Kang Taechu has been tied up by the dragon-snaring lasso and drank the heart-burning tea of 5 poisons. He's just a piece of trash now. What? Dragon-snaring lasso. Isn't that the Dharma treasure of Nomiya Shrine? Heart-burning tea of 5 poisons. Why did we use it on him? Many of the Japanese experts present were overjoyed when they heard this. Their eyes shone with excitement. The dragon-snaring lasso was one of the top 10 Dharma artifacts in Japan. According to the legends, it was made by Abe Saimai, the founder of the Japanese yin-yang masters and the best yin-yang master in Japan. He had killed a dragon in Sangshan Lake in Hokkaido and used the dragon's tendon to make it. The dragon was an ancient beast that had terrorized half of Hokkaido during the Heian era. It could swallow a village with its mouth and move mountains with its tail. Abe Saimai was no match for it back then. In the end, dozens of kendo grandmasters and immortal-level ninjas worked together to kill it. The power of the dragon-snaring lasso was extraordinary. It could swallow the blade chi of ninjas and kendo masters and turn them into energy for the dragon-snaring lasso to increase its durability. Once bound, no matter how powerful you were, you would still be captured and unable to escape. In fact, the stronger your cultivation base, the stronger the binding. Not even immortal state warriors could do anything about it. As for the 5 poison heart-burning tea, it was carefully refined by the ancestors of the Hejia school using bone-eroding vermilion frog, een snake, soul-breaking grass, red crown red, mercury water, and many other highly toxic substances. 1 drop of the tea could kill dozens of elephants. 1 pot could kill 100,000 people and turn a city into a wasteland. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.